what time it is.
Peace to the family. This is Abdul Ali, candidate for U.S. House District 12 here in Charlotte, North Carolina. Let's just be real, folks. The Democrats have destroyed our major cities. Their policies have made us less safe, they've given us less economic opportunity, and they've provided less educational opportunities for our children. And that's why I'm running for Congress, because I know what it takes to improve these issues. I've got great working relationships already in D.C. I've spent the last 10 years of my life building my political resume so that one of us, somebody who thinks like we do, could get into D.C. and make a difference. I want you to visit aliforcongress.com to find out more about my campaign. The Democrats have already done enough, and now they're putting illegal aliens in front of people like you and me, folks whose ancestors built this country and made it what it is today. So again, I'm asking you to support me in my run for U.S. House District 12 here in North Carolina. You don't have to live in North Carolina to support, because what happens in Congress affects the entire country. So again, it's aliforcongress.com. I hope to have your support. Peace and love, y'all.
Yeah, baby. Yo, we got so much to discuss. The main subject matter is going to be, well, y'all see what the title of the video is, but we got a lot to discuss. I told y'all it was a busy weekend.
Peace and blessings out there to everybody. My name is Dr. EnQi, the founder of the Melanin versus Diabetes movement and ministry. Our goal is to fight diabetes by creating a biochemically literate society, one book at a time, one person at a time, one household at a time. Join us now by going to Amazon.com and getting all of the books, getting all of the books that you can afford. Even if you can't read them all, share them with family, share them with loved ones. Let's begin the study. And if you need tutoring sessions are available at AmericanHealer.website. I can give you one-on-one tutoring through these books. Let's build a biochemically literate society, one person at a time. Thanks in advance.
Oh, man. So we got a lot to discuss. I might have to put, shout out to Marv. I need something to put on my face real quick. I need some glasses to protect my eyes. All right, let's get some work in. Oh, it's go time. It's show time. What we trying to do up here? What we trying to do up here, family? Talk to me.
Got the screen on me. Let me show you how I really flex, Si. This is how I really flex. Look at this. You see this, Si? This is how I really flex. This is flexing, right? This is flexing, right? And this is just in this last year. All these books right here is on Amazon. I wrote. Not just read. I wrote. That's flexing. But what I'm saying is, in every cell of the body, you have water structuring itself to become the gel that you know your cells are composed of. Within that space, in the process of that structuring happening, the water molecules separate the electrons and the protons. The electrons are harnessed by the melanin, and that's the algorithm.
You that you were not created to eat flesh. Same thing when it comes to water. See, you're supposed to eat water. You're supposed to chew water. You're not supposed to drink water. You do not drink water. Dogs drink water. Camels drink water. Four-legged beasts drink water. Do you know in order to drink water scientifically, you would have to stand on all fours, you have to elongate your neck, and you have to lap the water with your tongue? Your tongue is not even long enough, and it don't have the type of muscles that other mammals have to even lap that water in. In order for you to drink water, you got to close your hands together, do this. You got to do everything but what you can do naturally with it to even drink this water. You getting water in cups and glasses. You weren't born with cups, glasses, and bowls and none of that other shit. These are utensils that you make where you can assimilate other creatures, where you can start drinking these things, just like you make knives and you make forks because you don't have claws like a carnivore, and you make these knives and these forks that you can claw and rip and tear into flesh, showing you that you were not created to eat flesh. Same thing when it comes to water. See, you're supposed to eat water. You're supposed
Yeah, man. Listen, mental illness. We're talking about mental illness today. Mental illness. We're talking about mental illness. We're on mental illness today. Man. See, you want to start trouble. You want to start trouble today. You want to start trouble today. And I didn't have any intentions of starting trouble today. You know what I'm saying? But Brother Bayat is a very large supporter of the platform, of the channel, and everything that we got going on here. So as per his request,
made you tap into herbs. You know what I'm saying? Like, what caused you to this? Well, I had diabetes, I had high blood pressure, libido, I was an alcoholic, I had a lot of fats on my liver, I had kidney stones, kidney failure, and I was addicted to cocaine. And I was addicted to cocaine. And I was addicted to cocaine. So I had a whole lot of diseases going on. And one day I had went to the
hey. Oh my goodness. Oh man. But seriously, we on mental illness, right? So here's what we have to look at. Here's how we have to look at this thing. As we're developing, and it's going to take time, right? Because I know that some of you guys are, you know, I'm going to be honest, I lost count with all of the books. But I know we somewhere around 30 books, 40 books. You know, maybe with the books that have been removed, We may be somewhere in the 20s or something to that effect. But I know since last year, we released over 30 books, probably closer to 40 books on Amazon. I know that you guys, as a part of our partnership, you know, that's our partnership. You know what I'm saying? When you go to work every day, I go to research every day, right? So that's why I depend on y'all to send in the cash apps, right? Y'all are earning cash. Y'all are earning cash. I'm earning information. And then when we come together like this, we exchange. You send me some cash, I send you some information, right? Then we have the website where you have the resources to make the changes that you need to make easier to find whatever you need to find as you're consuming the information, right? So I get it. We're all in different places, but we have to begin to assimilate to our new paradigm, right? We are ushering in a new paradigm in anatomical and biochemical study, right? So the world will have us to thank for this, right? It is us. It is us. And we do have a book club coming up soon, right? We do have a book club coming up soon. So there's definitely a book club coming up soon. Like I said, Marvin and Thanos went crazy on the last one. Shout out to Marvin. I just spoke to Marvin on the phone a little while ago. So I'm gonna definitely try to get to, we will get to what he sent me this morning, because he asked me a question about a post on yoga, right? And I said, you know, what's funny is I'm getting ready to go live and talk about mental illness. And that post it just fits, you know, hand in glove with, you know, not only what we've been doing, but also with the topic today. Maybe not necessarily the direction I was going in with the topic of mental illness, but definitely with the overall subject matter. Definitely with the overall subject matter. So actually, this book right here, Melanin versus Diabetes Research Book 2. If you haven't figured out, that's a skull right here. That's yeah, here we go. That's a skull right there. Wait, there we go. Man, trying to figure out how to do this in the opposite. Yeah, this is you get it though, right here. Yeah, right here. That's a skull on the book. And so I know that stood out because for me, that was, I guess, a early preview that was probably the most important book out of the early series, because all of the early books had this same basic motif, right? The same way this was designed. Book 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, Melanin versus Diabetes, they all had the same pattern. Book 2, all black with the skull on it, and not just with the skull, but you see the spine, the beginning of the spine, the upper part of the spine, right? And that is a very important part of the brain and the whole body and the whole everything. You know what I'm saying? So that's probably the biggest. Now that book right there, just to summarize it, that book is probably, I could rename that book the Neurotransmitter book. Like literally, that is the Neurotransmitter book. That book is primarily all about neurotransmitters, right? Neurotransmitters and exercise, sure, right? In fact, that's kind of why when Marv hit me up this morning, what he was saying kind of made sense, because this book is about how exercise can control your neurochemistry, right? And so what Marv hit me up about, the post was about yoga being demonic. Is yoga demonic? And, you know, I was like, I gotta think a minute before I answer that question. There's layers to that question, right? Is yoga demonic? And he sent me the post, because I said, you guys send me the post so I'll know what exactly is because if we're just talking about stretching, obviously stretching is not demonic, right? Stretching is not demonic. But remember, we've had a lot of chakra conversations, and we know that the original practice from the Upanishads of the chakras is about inviting spirits and entities into your body to take over your consciousness. That's what the original true practice of chakra. That's what the entire practice of chakras is about now. It becomes more sinister when you have a lot of people who are really, truly uneducated about chakras, teaching chakras, and then making up their own doctrines about chakras, because at that point, the true essence of what they're doing is hidden, right? The true essence of what they're doing is hidden. And when you hide the fact of what it is that you're doing, right? So when you hide the fact that you have some unisexual or trans, like when you have some other behavior in there, and then you also hide the fact that you're inviting spirits and other entities into your body to take over your body. When you hide that and say, oh, no, this is about, building up your spirit, and this is, when you hide that, it definitely takes on a much more sinister, it just takes on a much more sinister practice. It takes on a much more sinister character. It has a much more sinister purpose. If you go into that eyes wide open and you purposely are inviting entities and, spirits and, demons and all that kind of stuff into your body, that's demonic in and of itself, by our standards as Muslims, as Israelites, as Christians, Catholics, in that space, you know what I'm saying? Even as Kemetic, it definitely has a demonic, but if you hide the fact that you're inviting these entities in your body to people, it definitely takes on a much more sinister, secretive, and here's the thing too, and all of this stuff gets crazy, but none of this is Marv. I gotta thank Marv for this segment of today's, This is not where we were going. You know what I'm saying? But Suge Knight, I just think this is a good spot to play this. But Suge Knight has a nice clip where he's explaining very simply the difference between the Illuminati and the Masons. Let's listen to Suge real quick. Let's see what Suge is saying. How Suge simplifies this thing.
They sold. And we all joke about it, but they always have a conversation about it, and I always say the same thing. I always say, well, you have Illuminati, and then they have the Masons. The Masons believe in God. The Illuminati believe in the devil. The Illuminati in Germany, Russia, wherever, they believe on men. They don't mean they part of the gay community. They mean they just overpower each other.
Let's listen to that one more time.
They sold. And we all joke about it, but they always have a conversation about it, and I always say the same thing. I always say, well, you have Illuminati, and then they have the Masons. The Masons believe in God. The Illuminati believe in the devil. The Illuminati in Germany, Russia, wherever, they believe on men. They don't mean they part of the gay community. They mean they just overpower each other.
So you know what? I'm gonna just let y'all wrestle with this. I'm gonna let y'all wrestle with this because this is gonna get even crazier. And you know, yeah. I don't know what to tell you. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is just
a man has something called a G-spot too. And the only way you can get through it is through his anus.
Nah, I don't want my son under no nigga like that.
so. Yeah, there's that. There's that, right? So I believe it's a sister. She puts up this post. Let's see if we can. Here's the picture. Right, here's the picture. That's the picture. Now, let me find the post that goes with it. It's actually a few of these. Okay, here we go. As an ex-yoga teacher, I feel extra convicted to warn people about the spiritual ramifications of this occult practice. Yoga is not just stretching. Yoga is a spiritual practice first and foremost. Yoga literally means to yoke to the spirits behind yoga. Yoga was designed by ancient pagans to be used as an embodied form of spiritual worship to 33 million small G Hindu gods, aka demons. Yoga is a gateway drug into hardcore witchcraft. Okay. So let's unpack this a little bit. This is what Marv hits me up with. So this morning, let me get my chair together. Oh, you know what? I got to get my drinks. Hold on. I got to get my drinks.
It ain't no fun when a rabbit got the gun, you heard?
Faith and love, love and faith, faith and love, love.
All right. So we gotta unpack this, right? First things first. Yoga is not just stretching. Okay. Yoga, the physical part of yoga is just stretching. The yoga postures are just stretches, right? So there are parts of what she's saying that I completely agree with, and there are parts that I think she's confused about, or maybe she just may be poorly articulating herself, right? Overall, I agree with her, but there are certain things that can be misinterpreted or taken the wrong way. So it's good, it's a good, it just is resonance, is resonance. Clearly me and Marv have resonance, right? Where I was already planning to do mental illness this morning, and then he hits me up with this, right? Now, I know some of y'all are like, but you showed Yaki clips, because Yaki is mentally ill, and the people that follow him are becoming mentally ill by adopting his way of seeing things. If you're starting to believe that men have a G-spot up their anus, that is mental illness, right? If you're starting to believe that a guy who is addicted to coke and crack is also a holistic healer, that is mental illness. If you're starting to believe that humans were not designed to drink water, that is mental illness, okay? None of those things, mind you, I had planned for today's discussion. Today's discussion is about neurotransmitters, and we in our electrician bag, right? But since Marvin then called me up before the show, and then Bayat is in the chat starting up, we here. You know what I'm saying? We here, right? But this is a good post, right? A good for discussion to unpack, right? So just to be clear though, the postures and the stretches that are associated with yoga have nothing to do with the quote unquote demonic aspect of yoga, right? There's nothing wrong with any of the stretches. Well, let me just say this. Hold on. Let me do this. Let me do this correctly. Because this could be, let me do this correctly. Hold on. Right? Because for the fellas, there are some things that could be quite challenging. For the fellas, there are some things that could be challenging. Now, if you're a man and you're at the house, you see what I'm saying? If you're a man and you're at the house, okay? If you're a man and you're at the house, this could be challenging. That's all I'm going to say about that. Right? But overall, the stretches are just stretches. Okay, so you've seen the same post. Okay. So Marv is not just tripping. I haven't been on IG in a minute. And I don't even have I don't have Twitter and all those other things, Facebooks and Twitters I don't have all that. You know me, I'm just IG and YouTube, and I haven't even been on IG. People compliment me. You know what I'm saying? They say, Ink, man, you know, it's amazing how you take care of all those children by yourself. You know what I'm saying? We really, you know, we respect you for that. They say, Ink, man, you know, you finding the time to put the research in and put all these books together for us. You know what I'm saying? Hey, man, you know, we really respect you for that. You know, we commend you. You know what I'm saying? But people don't really understand the idea that you only get 24 hours in a day. Because I see a lot of people, they're like, yo, Ink, where you at? Yo, we miss you on the gram, or yo, we ain't seen you doing this or that, or da. You know what I'm saying? Or even sometimes people will hit me up, you know what I'm saying? They'd be like, yo, did you see this or did you see that? Yo, you missed this or you missed that. And I'm like, my nigga, have you seen Amazon lately? Like, did you see what we doing on? Do you see what we doing? I'm like, wait a minute. Maybe y'all don't fully understand what I'm saying.
Got the screen on me. Let me show you how I really flex, Si. This is how I really flex. Look at this. You see this, Si? This is how I really flex. This is flexing, right? This is flexing, right? And this is just in this last year. All these books right here is on Amazon. I wrote. Not just read. I wrote.
So that I can't, you know, like clearly y'all know where I'm at. I'm at home trying to be worthy and earn your cash apps. I'm at home trying to be worthy and earn you guys being paid Patreon members, right? I'm at home trying to earn your hard-earned dollars, right? I'm trying to put in twice as much as work as you. If you work 8 hours a day, I'm trying to work at least 16 hours a day, so that when you sit down and go, okay, let me send Ink $20, let me send Ink $100, $50, let me send Ink some money because he on the grind. I want to know I'm worthy of that. And when you go to Amazon and you buy the books and the books come in, I want you to celebrate our accomplishments together. You know what I'm saying? So that's where I'm at. So I be missing stuff. You know what I'm saying? So I be needing sometimes for people to send me stuff like this, you know, especially if it's impactful and we can learn something from it. Right. So I just want to say stretching is very good. A lot of us are dealing with issues with our fascia, with our ligaments, with our joints. A lot of us are in our 40s. You know what I'm saying? Some people are in their 50s and 60s that watch the show. You know what I'm saying? And I know what you're dealing with. I know what you're dealing with. So you need to be stretching. Like, I just have to make this big, huge, pronounced, overdone disclaimer about stretching, because I think that the sister, although she means well with her post, she may not realize that inadvertently she's going to make people look a certain way at stretching. And her post is misguided because she's only making this post because she is now doing the Jesus Christ thing, right? And I'm not going to say necessarily misguided. I'm going to just say that I've been fighting this very same battle here, y'all know, for the longest, telling folks that the chakra thing is devil worship and blah, 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 right? But not because I'm now into Christ or Allah or this or that, just because it is not. So it's not about I'm into something now that I feel is better than this, so I'm going to tell y'all that this is bad. You know what I'm saying? It's not that I'm shopping at McDonald's now buying burgers, so I'm going to violate Burger King. No, I'm just telling you for a fact, as someone who has studied the Upanishads, the chakra system and everything that comes along with it, the purpose of it is to attract spiritual entities into your heart and your mind and your genitals to take over and control your behavior. Period. That's what that's for. So that's actually what she is trying to articulate here, but she mixes in the yogas and da 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 da. In the practice of yoga, the stretching is used as a device, not a device to allow entities to take over your body. That's not what that's for. The stretching is used as a device to relax yourself. That's all it is. Stretching is great for relaxing. And we need relaxing. Our society right now is dying because the sympathetic nervous system is dominant. Now, the way our body is designed, we're supposed to have balance between the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system. We do not have that. It's not even close. It's not even close. We live our lives like 95% through the sympathetic nervous system and 5%, 95% through the sympathetic nervous system, and 5% through the parasympathetic nervous system. You know what I'm saying? That's why heart disease is the #1 killer. It's the sympathetic nervous system. You know what I'm saying? Like that's literally what's killing us. And it's a big part, like I said, the post fit the conversation so well because if you notice, the newest book is called EnQi and the Brainwave, right? EnQi and the Brainwave. So it's a large part of the conversation on multiple levels. Now, the stretching is used specifically to get you into, matter of fact, probably be good for us to pull up something. Let me see how, because I would like to get this all here. Let me see if I can find something real quick. Let me see if I could find something real quick I could just grab and move over and add to this. Okay, let's do that like that. All right, let's do that. Like that. Bang, bang, bang. Okay. Now it no. See, you still violating. Hold on, man. There we go. Okay. Now we working. So now I got all these together. Okay. Can you see that? Oh, hell no. Here we go. Right? All right. So the idea is you want to use something to help you get into, right? You want to move away from, so when you're awake, right? When you're awake, you most of your time in awake is going to be beta waves. That's where you at. You're in the beta wave state, right? Beta waves. That's the kind of brain waves you have. beta waves. Now, any type of I guess I'm gonna say spiritual, for lack of a better term. Yeah, that's what we're gonna do. We'll throw the disclaimer on there, for lack of a better term. But any form of spiritual practice, you want to kind of shift from your normal beta wave state. You want to get into a theta wave or an alpha wave state, right? And so there's a variety of things you can use to do that, right? But you have to relax. You want to slow down the brain waves. That's the idea. You want to slow down the brain waves, right? The sympathetic nervous system is going, that's the cortisol, that's fight or flight, that's, like you want to, so people use music. Some people use breathing alone, changing your breathing patterns. People can use stretching. Stretching is great because stretching is directly working on the muscles where you have a lot of tension locked in. You have a lot of tension locked in, and that's where you're going to, that's where it's chemistry always. Remember what we talked about in the movement book, the relationship between the mind, your emotions, and your chemistry, right? So there's always chemistry, right? If we are primarily sympathetic nervous system, right, that means our bodies, particularly the muscle parts anyway, are driven primarily calcium, right? And so it fits because guess what? Most of us have diets with little to no vegetables, right? And if you have a diet with little to no vegetables, that means you're getting little to no magnesium, because that is nature's source of magnesium is green vegetables. Chlorophyll is magnesium, right? Chlorophyll is magnesium. That's nature's source of magnesium, right? Obviously, there's a lot more going on to chlorophyll than just magnesium, because magnesium is a mineral element, right? Whereas chlorophyll is a pigment molecule. But that pigment molecule, the thing that makes it go, is magnesium. So any type of vegetable, regardless, well, usually the chlorophyll is going to be dominant. So any type of greens is going to be loaded with magnesium, right? But the point that I'm making here is the stretching aspect of yoga is just to relax, to create the state of mind that you can begin to get into your meditative or spiritual practices. So I have to make sure we take the disrespect off of stretching. We have to move the stretching, and then we got to keep stretching clear of this, right? Because you could use a watch. You could use a damn... You know what I'm saying? Like, how you see the movies and they like, you're getting sleepy. You're getting sleepy. We can use anything, right? If we relax ourselves that way, right, it's meditation. If someone else does it to you, it's hypnosis, right? But the meditative state and the hypnotic state are one and the same. When you relax the brain waves, you put yourself in a state of hypersuggestion, right? So you can give yourself the suggestion, or somebody else can give you the suggestions. So if you put yourself in a meditative state and then you have somebody next to you telling you, hey, now you're being hypnotized. Or if you put yourself in a meditative state and you play an audio, now you're being hypnotized by whoever is on that audio, right? The audio is better actually than a person, because if you go deep into a suggestive state, right, you don't know what that person is telling you when you get into that state. If you have an audio that you've listened to and you know what's on the audio, and you purposely put yourself into a suggestive state, and then you turn on the audio and listen to it while you're in that suggestive state, that's cool, right? That is a learning tool. I do that all the time to help me learn things, to retain things, to help build neural networks, right? Yeah, that's cool. YouTube, you do not want to do that with YouTube. Let me let you know, don't do that with YouTube. If you have something, like say for instance, you like a video that I did or something, and you like, I'm gonna use this as a cheat code with EnQi talking about, right? Okay, cool. You need to find a way to download that video, right? And then play it like that. Because what YouTube does is, if you notice, when a video ends on YouTube, they'll just start up other videos. You know what I'm saying? Or people have commercials programmed into their videos. If y'all notice, my channel's not monetized. This is why I need y'all support on the Cash App. Y'all don't really understand. I've been had enough viewers to monetize this channel. You only need 500 people now to monetize your channel. All you need is 500 subscribers to monetize your channel. I have not done that yet. And we somewhere around 3,000. We far away from the 60,000 we lost. Right? But I could have been monetized the channel. I have not done that for that purpose. I don't like the interruptions in the I despise that. I be in the middle of something, watching something, and I be in the zone, whatever it is. I don't care what it is. I be in the zone with it. You know what I'm saying? Whether it could be Nick Wright talking about LeBron, or you know what totally kills me is if I'm listening to classical music. Oh my God. If I'm listening to classical music or lo-fi, you know, those lo-fi girl and lo-fi, whatever, all those channels like that. And then in the middle of that, a commercial comes on. Bruh, that should be blowing minds. You know what I'm saying? So for that reason, you don't want to meditate or sleep with YouTube on, because it's going to put other stuff in your brain. People's commercials going to pop in. When that video or program is over, it's going to go into some other, you know. Now, if there's an 8-hour video that doesn't have commercials, do your thing. You know what I'm saying? There's a few that I have saved up with nature sounds that you could just hear the water and the birds and all that. And it's not monetized. So it's like 8 to 12 hours of just that sound playing. You can sleep to that. And when you wake up, that's still going to be playing. So you know that nothing else, you know what I'm saying? But what I'm saying is, this is important because we need to understand how to program our minds better. And not only self-program, you know, self-programming, the algorithm, right? Not only do we need to be the software creators for our supercomputer, right? We need to eliminate the software creators that we have that we may not want, the malware, right? We need to eliminate malware. Let me put a note to myself for that. Yeah. Actually, maybe I should put it in the neurotransmitter book. Yeah. Because that right there is a contributor to mental illness. Malware. Yeah. Right? Malware, negative programming. Right? So I just want to just make sure we clear on that much. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not about the stretches. Right? Yoga literally means to yoke to the spirits behind yoga. Yoga is designed by ancient pagans. That's incorrect. That's another thing that we need to get straight. It's not designed by no ancient pagans. And the term pagan in and of itself is derogatory to your ancestors, right? And it's a made up term from the Vatican, who at the time was quote unquote pagan anyway, based on their definition of pagan. But there was no pagan people. There's no ancient pagans. There's no such thing as that. There's no ancient pagans. There's no ancient people that did not believe in God. Period. I would challenge anybody to debate me on that. There's no such thing as ancient, at least not brown, black, color. There's no equatorial ancient pagans. That doesn't exist. That's not a thing. That is not a thing. Right? So, and you can't call people who have a system of God pagan. Like, that's right. So that's all confusing in and of itself, right? They have 33 million gods and you calling them pagan. That's crazy to put that all together in one sentence, right? But that being said, the 33 million deities, right? As I don't even like to say God and mix it up like that, because that becomes confusing. Because these deities, these entities are not God, right? Or gods with a little g, a big G, a medium G, or any type of G. You know what I'm saying? They're not gods. They're entities. They're spirits, right? And so the idea is, and this is the culture though, right? This is the culture. And I think that she could probably be a little bit more transparent, right? Because as we move forward, you're going to see what I'm saying in her post here, right? So yoga is a gateway drug into hardcore witchcraft. That's another thing that's incorrect. Yoga is not a gateway drug into hardcore witchcraft. Yoga has nothing to do with witchcraft. Neither does Hinduism. Hinduism, Chakraism, none of that has anything to do with witchcraft. Period. In no shape, form, or fashion. In no shape, form, or fashion. Witchcraft doesn't even have anything to do with calling spirits and entities into your body. Now, are there quote unquote Wiccans or witches that practice calling spirits into their body? Absolutely. But that has nothing to do with the practice of witchcraft in and of itself. Wiccans and witchcraft is about the study of nature. That is all that is, period. And because they believe primarily in the forces of nature, and a lot of them are atheists, they became the enemy of the church because they're atheists, right? A lot of the original people that just started the whole Wiccan movement are atheists. And then they get into other systems of practice as atheists because they don't believe in God. So because they don't believe in God, they don't believe in the devil. And so that allows them to get into demonic practices. And for the people on the outside looking in, we just lump them all together. Say, oh, yeah, all that's devil worship and blah, 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 blah. But it's not. These things are actually all separate things. And there's bleed because we have people that do multiple things, right? On a simple level. You watch LeBron. LeBron used to play football and basketball, right? Because he's into sports, right? You have people who are into esoteric study, so they go into different spaces in that realm, right? But we got to keep things separate if we're going to discuss them, right? In you know, trying to be right and exact with what we're saying, right? So it has nothing to do with witchcraft. There are people that practice Hinduism that don't even know what witchcraft is. They don't even know what that is, right? So that's totally incorrect, right? But what is correct is that the Hindu practice and all of its derivatives is centered around attracting entities and spirits into your genitals, into your heart, into your brain to take over your body and control it. Now, that is a fact. That is a fact. That's literally written in the text. Like, that's what the practice of this all is, right? The chakras and this, that, and the other, and blah, 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 blah. But sisters confused on a lot of the different nuances, right? Now, hold on. Let's do this. Let's do this because let's go to the movement book real quick. No, it's not the movement book. Okay, hold on. It might be the gold book. Let's go to the gold book. Let me see. Is that the gold book? Hold on. I think it's tripping. Not the gold book. It's not the movement book. What? Nope. Then it has to be, because I know it's in the Race Hustler family. It's in one of these Race Hustler books. Okay. Not in part 3. Let's see if it's in part 2. Oh, maybe it's in part 1. Maybe it's in part 1. Hold up. If y'all got Race Hustlers, let me see if it's in volume 1. Now, you can't buy this book no more. So the people that got it, wait, is it in this book? Nope, it ain't in that book either. Hold on. So what book is this in? Damn. I know for a fact it's not in the Melanin versus Diabetes books. So that means it has to be Divine Mathematics, maybe. Okay, here's the algorithm. Yo, this is how I be going through my library looking for other books. Now, this is how I go through my library and my own books. This is epic. All right, hold on. So Divine Math. There we go. It's Divine Mathematics. Pull out your Divine Mathematics book real quick. Right? Pull out your Divine Mathematics book real quick. Now, if you pull that out, go to Divine Mathematics. Yeah, go to Divine Mathematics, and in the Divine Mathematics book, if you go to page 138, right? Starting on page 138, you got the basic concepts of the chakra system, right? You got the basic concepts of the chakra system and how the chakra system came from Blavatsky and blah, 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 blah. Right? You go right there. We not even, right? So you go there, right? Now, if you keep on going further into the back of the book, you're going to get, let me go to the table of contents. You go to the back of the book, you go to Bickram, no, go to 208. You go to page 208. You get the history on Kundalini, right? You get the history on Kundalini. This is why you got to have these things. This is why we got to have these things. We got to have this material on hand, right? You get the history on Kundalini, right? So you're not out here looking crazy. In that history, right? We go to page 213. You get the conversation surrounding Hatha yoga. So you start dealing with yoga, right? And then you move a little further. And when you get to page 222, you get to Bickram Yoga. Bickram Yoga is the reason that yoga is popular in Europe and America. Bickram Yoga, right? And Bickram Yoga is something that was totally made up. Bickram Yoga is not a real thing. And I know some of y'all that might watch this be like, hold up, I got a membership at Bickram Yoga right now. I'll be going to Bickram Yoga twice a month or 3 times a month. Bickram Yoga is totally made up by a man named Bickram Chowdhury. Okay, Bickram Yoga was made up by a man named Bickram Chowdhury. Bickram Chowdhury is I'm not sure if he was convicted because he started running from country to country to avoid charges. But he's a alleged pedophile, rapist, you name it, sexual deviant. And he created this system of yoga to facilitate his lifestyle. Right? So, Divine Mathematics, go through the book. It's all there. It's all there. Right? It's all there. Yeah. And then you keep going, page 228. You go through a whole program and blah, 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 blah. All right. So there's that, right? And I'm saying blah, 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 because, there's a lot of things that we need to leave out for community guideline standards. That's the beauty of the book. Just go get the book and, boom, you have that. Right? So, again, yoga in and of itself is not a demonic practice. Stretching is very good. Stretching is very relaxing. Stretching is a way to activate the parasympathetic nervous system. It's a great thing for your brain, right? It's great for your cortisol levels, your cholesterol levels. Like, stretching is amazing. That being said, Let's go on over here, right? That being said, here's the real deal. I spent 4 years straight living in a yoga ashram in France, qualified as a yoga teacher in Bali, taught classes and retreats all over the world, right? So that's where I feel like she's not articulating herself well, because what she really should be doing is speaking not about yoga per se, but more about the practice of Hinduism. And she goes further. Yoga is not only extremely spiritually dangerous for any human being to be practicing in any capacity, but for those who claim to know God of the Bible, yoga is in direct violation. So this is where, as a Bible thumper, right, she's leaving reality. Right? She's leaving reality. She's making it about Jesus Christ and the 10 Commandments, and it turns into gobbledygook. It turns into gobbledygook, and it turns into mental illness, right? It starts to get crazy. And with all due respect to the sister, I would suggest that she spend some time outside of religion and anything else. But if you tell someone that's at that time in love with Jesus, you tell them they should spend some time outside of religion to just work on themselves, you're coming between her and Jesus. And then before you know it, you're demonic and blah, 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 blah. But going from a Hindu practice where she was deep into Hinduism, she wasn't deep into yoga, she was deep into Hinduism. Because if you notice what she's saying, she lived in those ashrams. So when you live with those people, she's initiated into that culture. She's eating with them, praying with them. She's doing a lot of other things that are not in her post. And she's saying if you practice yoga in any form, it goes against God and this, that, and other. That's where she's absolutely incorrect. There is no form, listen to me, there's no form of self-care that goes against God. Literally, that is the number one thing we're supposed to be doing here, is self-care. Self-care is the number one thing God wants you to be doing. And he doesn't say it, but he implies it. Why? Because the first 2 commandments God gives you is to be fruitful and to multiply. Before he even gets into commandments needing to be necessary, the first instructions you have from God is to be fruitful and to multiply. In order to be fruitful, right? In order to be someone who's working, right? You have to self-care. You cannot be fruitful if you don't take care of yourself. That means eating right. That means stretching. That means exercising. That means when you exercise, exercising is about contracting muscles. That's what exercise is about. It's about tensioning up the muscles, right? You're over tensioning up the muscles. Stretching is the opposite. Stretching is about over relaxing the muscles so you create balance while building up the body, right? So making sure you get exercise, sleep, eating right, drinking your water, and blah, blah, blah. Like, that's all godly. Those are the godly actions. Those are holy, divine, godly actions, because those allow you to execute God's blueprint, which is be fruitful and multiply. If you're not fruitful, you can't help anyone. You have to help. So you got to be fruitful. Me studying, right? Me researching is me being fruitful, because now I have an abundance of knowledge, more than I need to take care of myself, so then I can share that with you. If you're somewhere and you figured out, you got an NFL talent, you got an NBA talent, you got a computer talent, you know what I'm saying? And you can use your talent to generate income, money. Once you start to make more money than you need to take care of yourself, now you're fruitful, because you can take care of family members. You can hit the cash apps and ink some money so I could keep doing what I'm doing. When you're fruitful and you share the fruits of your labor with others, that allows them to be more fruitful and share the fruits of their labor with others. That's a godly society where people are working, creating excess, and sharing the excess to help other people work, create excess to share excess. Like, that's a godly society, right? That's what capitalism is supposed to be. That's what capitalism is supposed to be. That's why I'm a fan of capitalism. That's what capitalism is supposed to be. The problem with capitalism is hoarding, tucking away, where you're making excess and then you're hiding the excess. You're turning into Scrooge, you're Scrooge McDuck. That's not it. You're destroying capitalism, because if people tuck everything away, eventually there's nothing to be made. So capitalism implodes, right? The whole idea is circulation of energy, right? So my point though is, taking care of yourself is godly, right? That is the number one thing. And you can't multiply. We can't even get to multiply. Because if you don't take care of yourself, then your semen is going to be terrible, or your eggs are not going to be, your body's not going to be fertile. So there is no multiplying if you don't take care of yourself. So you cannot be fruitful or multiply if there's no self-care practice in place, right? So this is where, like I said, she goes off the hinges and it gets crazy, right? Anyone who has ever practiced yoga needs to repent and renounce the Kundalini spirit. Okay? This is another thing here. There's no such thing as a Kundalini spirit. There's no such thing as a Kundalini spirit. But you have to actually study Kundalini to know that. Kundalini is ionic current. And ionic current is not demonic. Ionic current is how your nerves work. It's literally just how your body generates electricity. Your body uses negative ions and positive ions, in ratio, balanced one against another, to generate electricity. Period. That's it, right? Let's see what else she got here. I loved yoga. Blah, blah, blah. Once I levitated a foot off the floor. See, you see where we're going? You see where we're going? This is what I'm saying. This is where it gets goofy and it gets crazy. Right? This is where it gets goofy and crazy. Sis, you gotta relax. Right? At the peak of my personal practice, 5 to 7 days on the mat, I can enter deeper states of meditation and astral project all over the universe, opening portals, communicating with unclean spirits. Right? So we gotta relax with this. This is where we get crazy. Once I levitated off the floor, I thought yoga was my superpower, blah, blah, blah. So first things first, she wasn't astral projecting. People think they're having out-of-body experiences and astral projecting. That's all foolishness. Right? That's all foolishness. Oh, hold on. As a direct practice, doing yoga, I begin to channel spirits and do energy work and chakra healing. Come on now. You see, it's not far. It's always going to pop up. Right? Within a year, I became a fully demon-controlled blood witch. I used blood offerings and elemental magic to cast spells and manifest anything I wanted. I was activated by my spirit guides as a psychic medium, starseed, and I began speaking. See this? Come on, bro. I see this. I'm telling you, man, this is the thing. This is the goofballery that people are into. See, this ain't got nothing to do with yoga. It's just people need a little bit of time. Like I told you, people need a little bit of time to tell you the truth. The truth doesn't just come out. I told you, yoga had nothing to do with witchcraft, but now she want to tell you that she was doing cannibalism and blood sacrifices and all that. Listen, and this is why I said when Marv called me up about this post, I said, man, you know, I'm talking about mental illness today. So you know what? Throw this right in the bag. We're going to get to this, right? But all of this is mental illness. The biggest problem with mental illness, right, on any level, even what's socially accepted, because there are miniature, little mini levels of mental illness that we accept. That we accept as okay. And that's where the problems start, with the stuff that we accept is okay. And excuses is the gateway drug to mental illness. All forms. Excuses are the gateway drug to mental illness. All forms. Period. Excuses. If you talk to a serial killer, he got excuses. Now, in his mind, they're not excuses. In his mind, they're reasons. But they're actually excuses. Because you always have a binary choice. Act or not to act. Indulge or not to indulge. You always have that choice. So now, once you start making up stuff, oh, well, I'm going to do this to do this. And so that whole practice of inviting spirits into your genitals, into your brain, your heart, etc., there's excuses that comes along with that, right? I'm going to do this to get this. You know, I'm going to do this to get that. So whether it's a promotion at your job, whether it's the girlfriend or the wife that you want, or the boyfriend or the husband you want, or whether I don't know, you're trying to shoot up a school or blow up a football stadium or some shit. It's excuses, and it's so a person may need some excuses. They may need someone else to be the blame for them doing what they wanted to do. So because this girl, and it probably started, I'm gonna tell you, she ain't put it nowhere in her post, but having seen this scenario quite a few times, most times it starts with the genitals. So she looks like a pretty girl. She keeps herself in shape. So it probably started with her sex. A lot of times that's the space it starts in, sex. And people wanting to get deeper and deeper into sex. And social programming causes a divide in their mind. And so they know what they want to do. They know what they like to do. But they have the social programming telling them that they should not engage in those ideas and thoughts. So now they need something to bridge the gap. So they can't just do the sex and just enjoy what they're doing. They need to channel in some sort of spirit, something to say, oh, yeah, well, I was under the influence of chakras and, so that led me to doing, no, nigga, you was horny. You was under the influence of horniness. You was horny. Yeah, that's what was happening. You was horny and you have some sort of other taste. You want to have other types of sex, right? And from wherever your household is, your experiences, you've acquired those tastes. And you've also acquired the social programming that tells you that those tastes are bad. So now you're stuck. You got these ideas of things that you want to do sexually, and then you have the programming on the other side that says those ideas are bad ideas. Now you have to find a bridge. You have to find a way to get past that social programming that tells you that those are bad ideas. So now you get to say, okay, well, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and get drunk and pop these pills. And then I'm going to say that it wasn't me. It wasn't me that wanted to have sex with 2 or 3 men at one time. It was the liquor that made me want to have sex with 2 or 3 men at one time, because society tells a woman that wants to have sex with 2 or 3 men at once that is bad. You're a whore, you're a hoe, you're a prostitute, you're whatever, all kinds of stuff, right? But at the same token, society tells a man that says, I want to have sex with 2 or 3 women at once. Hey, that's hey, good job. Right? Depends on what area, what in what space in society you're in. You know what I'm saying? So we drink this liquor, pop these pills, or let me join up with a spiritual, system that incorporates sexually deviant behavior in the undertones, so I can link up with other people like me and then get into some cross cosplay, whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? Even if it's some illegal stuff, because if you're getting into a group with illegal taste, all of you will legally protect each other, and now you can feel free amongst those people to be yourself. You know what I'm saying? So what I'm saying is, don't blame the alcohol. Don't blame the Hinduism. Don't blame the mushrooms. Don't blame the ecstasy pills. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't blame these other things. It's you. And after you sober up, it's still you. You can't, like, a lot of people think that they could join the church to hide from who they are. So in church, you find the most flamboyantly loose bottom men of all time. And they in there talking about, God made them straight. And this is why there's so much craziness going on in the church. It's not that something's wrong with the religion. It's not that something's wrong with the church. It's that people have the ability to not be accountable for their own actions based on the framework of how the Bible is taught to them. And anytime you have a collection of people that do not take accountability for themselves, pure fuckery is afoot. It doesn't matter what group it is, right? If you get a whole bunch of fat people together, right? Let's simplify it. You get a bunch of fat people together and they start all saying, oh, well, I'm big boned. I'm just big boned. No, you're not big boned. You're fat. Okay. You got to relax. The first thing you got to do is take accountability. If you go to an alcoholic place, right? The first thing you got to do if you want to stop being an alcoholic is you have to take accountability for your drinking. Right? So all these non-accountability excuses, that is the gateway drug. Now, do we all make excuses? Absolutely. Do I make excuses? Left and right. But I'm working on me. I'm working on me. Right? I'm working on me. You know what I'm saying? I'm working on me. I don't make excuses. And stuff that I want to do, I just say it's stuff that I want to do. You know what I'm saying? If you getting into blood sacrifices and bruh, what are we talking about? Unless you was raised in a household where they sacrificing, doing blood sacrifices and all that, and you never had the opportunity to learn, right from wrong outside of that paradigm, then you know what you're doing. You can't be raised in a regular setting and then in your 20s you move into, some organization where you're doing blood sacrifices and all that to different deities and all kind of crazy shit, and then say you was misled. Oh my God. Right? So that's all mental illness. All right. So we spent 90 minutes on that over there, man. Exactly. Folks outsourcing their accountability. I'm a regular cannabis smoker. I admit it. It got me. Yeah. Now, see, with the trees, here's the thing with the trees. Hey, anything smoked is toxic. Right? Anything smoked is toxic. And the bigger thing is Fonto leaves, backwoods, Dutch Masters, Swisher and Sweets, Philly Blunts, White Owls, you name it. All of those things are super toxic. especially if y'all are at home smoking something that got a flavor to it. Oh my goodness. Cherry flavored this, strawberry, banana, this and that. If you smoke any type of wrap that got a flavor to it, oh my God. Them things is not regulated. So a lot of those blunt wraps have over 4,000 toxic chemicals in there to make them flavors. Yeah, it's a lot of chemicals you need to make tobacco taste like strawberries and bananas. Yo, tobacco is literally the most poisonous plant on earth. Tobacco is ugly, bro. Tobacco is a dangerous thing. You know what I'm saying? But that being said, cannabis is very medicinal. Cannabis is very medicinal. You know what I'm saying? Cannabis is a very beautiful plant. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, it's a good thing. It's a good thing. You just got to try to get around the toxic poisoning and blah, 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 blah. Yeah. So cannabis is a beautiful thing, though. Cannabis is a beautiful thing. It's just a lot of people, and I know you know, Ricky, you know what I'm saying? I know you know, but I'm just saying to the people that may not know. Most people that smoke weed, they have multiple addictions. It's not just the weed, you know what I'm saying? And you could test them. You could test them. Ask them to roll up their weed inside a joint paper. Be like, yo, let's put that in some bamboo. I got some white paper. Let's roll that up in some white paper. And they're going to look at you like you just landed off a spaceship. They're going to be like, I'm not putting my weed in no damn, hell no. That ain't going to get me high. When they say that, without knowing it, that's them admitting that they have multiple addictions, because the weed is the same weed, whether you put it in a cigar or whether you put it in paper. The reason why they don't get the same feeling is because they've addressed their THC intake, but they haven't addressed their tobacco intake that they're also addicted to. They haven't addressed their chemical intakes that they're also addicted to, et cetera, et cetera. So they need the tobacco, they need them other chemicals mixed with the THC to get them to the high that they're used to. So, yeah, you know, obviously, I don't suggest anybody break the law. If trees, cannabis, weed is illegal wherever you at, don't do it. Just say no. But if you are in a place that you can indulge, you know, you might want to use a bong or something, maybe take out some of those chemicals, you know, so that way you're just using the cannabis itself, or switch to edibles. Give your lungs relief. Listen, I know you already know all the ins and outs and blah, 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 but, you know, it's going to be a few hundred to a few thousand people to see this video at some point. So I know that they don't know any better. I know that they don't know any better. Because I know a lot of my people still be hitting me up. Like, yo, I just seen that cannabis is good for inflammation. I'm like, nigga, stop it. Stop. We're not going to have that conversation. Don't you tell me another word. Don't you say another word. You are not smoking every day because you thought about it being good for inflammation. You just trying to relax. Your life is overly sympathetic. Your sympathetic nervous system is driving your life with stress. And you're using the trees. You want to blow some trees to relax. This is why the first thing people do is they get stressed. They go to they get down. You know, as soon as they get home from work, hold on, let me roll up something so I can relax. You know what I'm saying? Or, you know, yeah, because really, in reality, all of our lives today are driven by the sympathetic nervous system, and it's not supposed to be. Fight or flight is driving. And the thing is, every time we get stressed like that, there's stuff going on. There's chemistry involved. This is why this book is so important. Let me put it next to the background one. Yeah, this is why this book is so important. And not only that book, but this book. Is this up on the wall behind me somewhere? Let me see if it's up there somewhere. Hold on, let me see if it's up there somewhere. Oh yeah, it's right behind me in the bottom. Ooh. Pause. That was crazy. I said right behind me in the bottom. Pause. That was crazy right there. If Chase or Caleb was here and they heard me say that, they'd be going crazy. I'm like, yo, I was playing the pause game long before y'all was even. It's just getting popular now because Cam and Mace doing sports, but that in the Bronx, we invented that. Right? That was invented in the Bronx. Us, my neighborhood, my crew, we invented that. Right? But a lot of people think the Dipset is a Harlem thing. The Dipset is not really fully like a Harlem thing. You know what I'm saying? Dipset is an uptown thing. So people that's not from New York may not fully understand that. But Harlem is not a place. Harlem people are orphans. They don't have a home. Right? So at the end of the day, Harlem is uptown. And so, you know, Harlem rocks with the Bronx. But Harlem is not a real thing. Harlem is a imaginary space created for Black folks in Manhattan back in the days long before I was even born. You know what I'm saying? When the Black folks was going to war, you know what I'm saying, with the Irish was going to war with the Italians, you know, like all of these different nationalities were going to war for scraps, you know what I'm saying, trying to establish themselves and take care of their families at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? But Harlem became a thing. Then the Spanish folks, you know, they laid their gangster thing down and they got their own little section called East Harlem. So, okay, here, y'all can have an imaginary neighborhood too. We gave the Black folks, this is white folks speaking, first person. White folks like, look, we gave the Black folks their own imaginary neighborhood. So here, you guys can have an imaginary neighborhood off to the side as well. So, yeah, we'll let the Black folks, you know, they can have that imaginary neighborhood up there where the heroin and cocaine is at. And we'll give the Spanish folks the disease-ridden sewers over there where the rats and all that is overrunning the people and all that. Yeah, you can have that. Then we'll let the immigrants, the immigrants coming in. Okay, well, shit, where we gonna put these immigrant niggas? Okay, we're gonna put the immigrants. Here, y'all, we'll put y'all on the other side over here on the other side of the water. So y'all can have Riverside and all this and all that. Y'all got Riverside and all that. Yeah, y'all got Riverside and all that. So here, y'all have an imaginary neighborhood too. We'll call this Washington Heights. But that's all imaginary because it's actually just Manhattan, right? It's just Manhattan. That's it. That's the borough is Manhattan. So Washington Heights is not a real place. Harlem's not a real place. The Lower East Side, that's not a real place. Those are just neighborhoods in Manhattan, right? So the Dipset is a uptown thing. You know what I'm saying? Harlem folks are attached to the Bronx, and so are Yonkers, even though Yonkers is an actual city, right? But it's really not, nobody cared about Yonkers. You know what I'm saying? Like, Yonkers ain't nothing. Nobody cared about Yonkers until now, you know, with Rough Riders and the Locks, whatever. But a lot of Rough Riders and the Locks is Bronx guys. You know what I'm saying? Just like Heavy D and them, Mount Vernon, and, you know, all them guys. They attached to the Bronx. All that's attached to the Bronx is Bronx people driving the movement. You know what I'm saying? So the Dipset is really like a Bronx, Harlem collaborative, or Harlem Bronx, however you want to put that. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, shout out to Black Adon. You know, shout out to Luca. You know, but yeah, so that's how that goes. So now let's get into, after 90 minutes of craziness, 90 minutes of chaos. Yeah, no Diddy, right? Yo, we gotta, listen. No chakras, man. No chakra, man. Pause, no chakra. These are facts. These are only facts, man. All of those movements that Harlem is famous for is Bronx folks most of the time. Even the Rich Porter and all that stuff, Bronx guys. You know what I'm saying? All of that stuff is Bronx guys. You know what I'm saying? With Harlem folks. But obviously, you know, it's Harlem folks because Harlem is what we're talking about. You know what I'm saying? But Bronx is just a quiet place. And I'm not saying quiet. I mean, in terms of all of these different things, Bronx is like, you know, you don't know that these folks is Bronx people. You know what I'm saying? Until you get deeper into conversations or whatever. And then you find out like, oh, wait a minute. So those niggas is from the Bronx? Yeah. Those niggas from the Bronx is going to other places to tear shit up. And they leave you thinking that they wherever they at, you know what I'm saying? So they could go back to the house, you know, back home and be, you know, lay low. So they go to Harlem and cause up, you know, raise hell. Then, you know, when shit get hot, they go back to wherever they from and lay low. You know what I'm saying? All right. Let's get to more specifically what we had planned today. Right? Let's get to some work. You know what I'm saying?
The world knew New York as Muslims, as gods. When I was growing up, we had knowledge of self. I was a god body. I'm still acknowledging myself as that. I had knowledge of self. New York, we need to get back to being civilized. Off this gang shit, off the blood, off the crip. Let's go back to the essence, nigga.
Back to the
Let's go back to being civilized.
All right. So now, now that we have thoroughly redesigned our study of anatomy and biochemistry to view the entire body as electric, right? To view the entire body as electric, right? Hold on. All right. Wrong thing. Hold on.
And we the programmers because humans is the real iPhones.
No, for sure.
So the people that can have you like saying a line over and over or singing something, or you see a way somebody is dressed or colorway, or even like the way a girl is shaped or something, or a new car shape, that's the new form of programming now with this, with the World Wide Web. It's like that international influence. Why somebody want to pull up? Why somebody want to go to Dubai? Why they want to go to and we the programmers, because humans is the real iPhones. No, for sure. So the people that can, have you like saying a line over and over or singing something, or you see a way somebody.
Right. So we listen. Ye know what it is. And I'm the original. Listen, Kanye, y'all don't think, but Kanye be copying my shit. Listen, Kanye copies Dr. EnQi. Where do you think Kanye got the concept to do his website? What every item is low price. Where do you think he got that from? He got that from Dr. EnQi. Kanye was with Victor a few months before I started having those conversations with Victor. I'm gonna have to pull those conversations back out. I think I'm gonna have to pull those clips back out and remind folks. So Victor was with Kanye, and then I started, having those conversations with Victor, right? And in those conversations, here's the reason why it was so much jealousy going on. Let me show y'all this. This right here explains the jealousy. Let me show y'all something. This right here is what explains the jealousy. Now, all of these ingredients are ingredient. These are some. These are half. This list of ingredients is half the list of herbs that's in the bitters. Half the list. Half the list. Half, right? But the reason I have them there is because these are the herbs, quote unquote. Dr. Sebi is the Louis Vuitton when it comes to the herbs. Dr. Sebi is the Louis Vuitton when it comes to the herbs. So and it's not even Sebi, because Sebi's resting in greatness right now, but it's all of the people coming behind him. The Sebi nephew, the Sebi sons, the Sebi grandkids. I don't even know what to call KT. The self-attached, the self-adopted. But it's, or Yaki. What do you call these niggas like Yaki that's just jumping off the top ropes out of nowhere? They wasn't even around when Sebi was alive teaching it, but they trying to market his shit, right? But this is where the overall jealousy comes from, right? Because these guys didn't really know what they're doing, but they do know this. They know one thing for sure. Two things for certain, one thing for sure. Dr. Sebi created a huge commercial vacuum. Dr. Sebi was selling herbs worldwide. And once he passed away, that created a huge vacuum for people to jump in that space and now make some money. So here's what happened. This where Ye copying the swag. People are selling these herbs of Dr. Sebi's at all kinds of crazy prices. So to get you a little bottle of some of these things, they charging all kind of crazy prices. Especially Kalawala. Oh my God, they're going crazy to charge you for Kalawala. Right? So you can go, so instead of spending all these different prices, right? Instead of spending this money to buy all of these individual herbs, which is what these guys is doing, right? Which is what these guys is doing. When you get the bottle of bitters from Dr. You know what? It's time for me to take some bitters too. But when you get a bottle of bitters from Dr. EnQi, you get all of them herbs in there. One bottle, $30, $40. Bam, you got all that shit in there. Now, if you go to these different guests, so they felt like I was cutting everybody's throat because clearly pennies on the dollar when you buy the bitters. Come on now. I'm about to go get my bitters though. It's time.
That's the algorithm.
Somebody asked me, they said, EnQi, if that's really your bitters, how come it's no label on the bottle? Because I have to pay. I have to pay for those labels. Labels are not free. So I don't need a label on my own bottle to know what I'm drinking. But I am drinking bitters like 5-6 times a day now. I'm doing like 5-6 shots a day to get myself ready for the summer. I got to keep up with these kids. I got to keep up with the children. Now, one thing I will say is we got a book dedicated to bitters. We got a book dedicated to bitters that will give you a much more powerful insight to bitters than you know what I'm saying? Like, but that's where the jealousy came from. And that's how Ye got the idea to like, oh yeah, I know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna just Frank Lucas, you know, I'm gonna just cut the price down. Bro, that's from EnQi. So don't believe these folks don't be watching. Facts. No, that's the bitters I'm drinking. But the bitters have a lot of the same herbs as the Blue Magic. The Blue Magic is inside this cup. Yeah. Yeah, the blue, but what's in that cup tastes good. The bitters taste like ass. You know what? I can't get at Ye. You know why I can't get at Ye? I love Ye. That's the problem with Ye and Drake beefing. I love Kanye and Drake. I don't know what the hell's going on with these niggas. I do. It's tough when you the GOAT. You know what I'm saying? Everybody comes at your neck. Pause. You know what I'm saying? So I get it. I get it. You know what I'm saying? All right. So let's get to work though. Let's get to work. So if we are beginning to, right, if we're going to begin to address the body as a system of circuits and electronics. Now, some things have never really been hidden. Some things have never really been hidden. That's why we didn't need to come up with a term for neurotransmitters, because It's literally already a transmitter. It's already a neurotransmitter. You know what I'm saying? So we didn't need to come up with a term for neurotransmitters. You know what I'm saying? But this would be considered the neurotransmitter book. So if you don't have this, you have to have this. Like, this is the gold standard when it comes to neurotransmitters. And our look at mental illness, we're going to categorize malware, which I think we kind of went through. We spent the first 2 hours talking about negative programming. So we'll leave malware to the side. But neurotransmitters, right? Neurotransmitters, that's what we need to take a look at today. Right? We need to look at neurotransmission, right? Neurotransmitters and neurotransmission. Right? So we have a few things at our disposal. Right? We have a few tools at our disposal. Not only do we have the neurotransmitter book, but we have the Electrician manual. And then we also have the You Got Some Nerve book. All of these, right? Because we can't really talk about neurotransmitters without talking about the nerves themselves, right? And then obviously we have the new book that's out. I don't even have a copy of it yet, still in transit. Right? EnQi and the brainwave. Right? But brainwaves are neurotransmitters transmitting in unison. That's all brainwaves are. So when you're studying brainwaves, you are studying neurons. Right? You are still studying neurons because that's what a brainwave is. Brainwaves are firing neurons happening in synchronization. Right? Now, when you study neurotransmitters, you're studying what's being fired. Get it? So when you study brainwaves, you're studying the patterns that neurotransmitters use to fire. Right? Remember, we spoke yesterday. Make sure y'all go watch yesterday's video. But so when you study brainwaves, it's the patterns of neurons firing. Remember, genius is the ability to recognize patterns. Creative genius is the ability to create patterns. Right? Intellectual genius is being able to recognize patterns. Creative genius is being able to create patterns. Right? Because patterns allow us to process information at faster speeds. Right? And we talk about that in the very first book, Melanin versus Diabetes, #1. Wherever that is. Where is that book? No, that's 3. That's 6. It's somewhere around here. It's in the pile somewhere. Keep going through this big ass pile of books to find books. I think this is it right here. Is that it? Nope, that's not it. No blood clot. You can't deal with it. All right, yeah, it's somewhere around here. I know it's up here though on the wall. Is it on the wall? Nope, it ain't even. It ain't even up there on the wall. Wow, so book 1 is not even up there. Yeah, book 2, 3. Is book 4 up there? Nope. 4, is not there. 5 is not there. 6 is not there. You have the Race Hustlers. Race Hustler starts with Race Hustler Volume 4. Wow. Yeah, 4, 5, and then you get into the new series. Yeah, then you get into the new series. So yeah, it's a lot of books that's not in this little collage of books behind me, right? But just to simplify, brain waves are the patterns that neurons fire in. Then when you study the neurons themselves, it's usually neuroanatomy, right? So you're studying the actual neurons themselves, right? So neurons, to make it simple, are the brain or the body of the neuron. Then you have the dendrite. Then you have the axon, and at the end of the axon, you got like the little receiver, if you will. You know what I'm saying? Or not receiver, because it's not receiving anything. It's the nozzle where it releases the synapses. I mean the neurotransmitters into the synapse, right? Then you got the dendrite, which is the receiver, right? So you got basically like 2 arms to your neurons, right? You got the creative arm, which has the axon, and then you have the dendrite, which is the receiving arm. So when it's creating and sending out signals, that's going to go through the axon. That's where the electromagnetic activity happens. That's converted into a chemical, and that chemical that represents that electromagnetic activity is called the neurotransmitter. Right? So I think a lot of magic in that space is lost because we're forgetting that these cells are performing electrochemistry all the time. So it's hard for me to look at certain people that don't understand that your body is luminous, electric, magnetic, like all the time. I'm like, yo, how are you thinking? And when I say, how are you thinking to somebody, they think I'm being facetious or being funny because I don't agree with what they're saying. But I'm speaking literally, like, nigga, how are you thinking? Do you know that your neurons literally produce electromagnetism all the time? Like, that's how they work. And that electric lightning, that lightning bolt, literally, lightning flies down your axon. That's literally what happens. Miniature microscopic lightning bolts. And that lightning bolt is turned into a chemical or a set of chemicals that are neurotransmitters. And then that neurotransmitter is absorbed by either a muscle, right? Some muscle tissue, or another neuron or nerve, right? And then it has to be converted back into the lightning bolt in order for it to make sense to another cell. So there's a body, which is like the brain of the neuron. It generates a lightning bolt. That lightning bolt is turned into a chemical. That chemical may be melanin concentrating hormone. That chemical may be dopamine. That chemical may be GABA. That chemical may be serotonin or something to that effect, right? Glutamine, whatever it is, right? When some other neuron absorbs that chemical, the exact lightning bolt that was let loose to create that chemical is then duplicated in the other neuron that absorbs it. So you got, say this right here with my watch on. Say my watch hand is an axon of a neuron, right? The lightning's coming down. My fist is the head, pause, where the lightning is going to be converted into, let's say, GABA, right? Now, this right here, this arm is a dendrite. This is going to another neuron, right? In between these two fists is called the synapse. This little space in between my hands, this is the synapse. This is where the chemicals exchange from one to another, right? So when this hand produces the GABA, right, the lightning that comes down, it gets converted to GABA, then the GABA gets released. When this neuron now absorbs the GABA in the dendrite, that GABA turns back into that same lightning. And now that's then that lightning goes to the brain of that neuron, and now they had a communication. That's how that goes. So it's lightning, chemical, lightning. Lightning, chemical, lightning. That's what's actually happening all the time. The synaptic gap. Absolutely. This is exactly what we're dealing with. Yeah. So it's not that hard. Look, that's why I put out the PhD book. The PhD explains the process. It's not that hard to put these books out. It's just you have to not have a life, right? If you don't have a life and you don't do anything else, you don't sleep, you don't party, you don't have sex, you don't do anything else besides read and write, you'd be surprised how many books you could put out. All right, so which book am I referencing with the neurotransmitters? I'm actually referencing this book. I'm referencing a few books because there's a bunch of books that there's a couple of books, not a bunch. There's a couple of books that talk about neurons and nerves, right? So this book talks primarily about the neurotransmitters, right? I only brought up the PhD book because this actually talks about how to write books, right? So I was just responding to True Fist comment with that. But the You Got Some Nerve book is written all about nerves and neurons, right? So this is about nerves and neurons. And then the two newest books, the Electrician Manual and the Electrician Workbook, right? Those books are also, well, the Electrician Manual is primarily just about the body, period, in general, the whole entire body as a system of circuits and electronic devices. The EnQi and the Brainwave book kind of gets more into brain chemistry, neurochemistry. You know what I'm saying? How everything is going on. But this specifically is the neurotransmitter book. So this book primarily is about neurotransmitters, period, and mental health. This book is primarily about neurotransmitters, but how the neurotransmitters control mental health. And then on the flip side, how we can take control of our neurotransmitters, right? So neurotransmitters controlling mental health, and then how we can take control of our neurotransmitters. Right? Because all of your moods, all of your behavior patterns are driven by neurochemistry. And the problem is because we don't spend any time studying or reading up or doing anything to understand what neurochemistry is, we are in victim mode. Victim mentality is basically another way of saying we do not take accountability. If we take accountability for our neurochemistry, the first step to taking accountability for our neurochemistry is figuring out what the hell neurochemistry is in the first place. And what I just gave y'all is the basics of all neurochemistry, right? Period. That is the basics of all neurochemistry. The basics, right? You got lightning being produced, converted into a chemical. That chemical is called a neurotransmitter because that chemical carries the electromagnetic wave that was created in the axon of the nerve or the neuron. And when that neurotransmitter is absorbed by another neuron, that chemical is going to be converted back into that electromagnetic wave, which is the thing that's intelligible to the actual, brain of the neuron. Maybe it'd make more sense if we pull up one. Let's pull up a neuron so we can look at a damn neuron. Hold on. Let's pull up a damn neuron. We need to see a neuron. Let's look at one of these bad boys. Now, mind you, neurons look all different types of ways. Right? So let's first just pull up one of these basic joints. Yeah, this is good right here. In fact, let me see if I can add this. Will you get your ass out of here? Okay. Let me see if I can add this over here where it could just be here. Yeah, perfect. Okay, so let's do it like this. I'm just trying to make it bigger real quick. All right. Bang, bang. So now let me hit the share button. So now it's all kind of neurons. Let me say that. But this is the basic, breakdown of how neurons look. Right? Or the basic way they show the anatomy of a neuron, so that way you can kind of learn about it a little bit. And you can get the rough idea of what's going on. Right? So now when you look at the neuron, right? These right here are the dendrites. Inside this area right here, this is the nucleus. This is where the brain is at. The cell body right here. Right? Cell body, nucleus. Just like the rest of your cells. Cell body and nucleus. Right? The neuron is no different. It's still a blob of structured water, no matter what. So we never get away from the basics. All of your cells are blobs of structured water. Period. And this is why it's important for us to have the GOAT book. This should be like a workout, doing these videos, and then I got to keep referencing books. I got to keep moving piles of books. Right? But that's why it's important to have this book. And this is my favorite chapter in the book. My favorite chapter in the book is okay, yeah. I think it's I think it's Blue Magic 101. in that chapter, we talk about how water, cellular water, cytoplasm, builds its machinery, right? How it builds its machinery, the machinery that the cell needs to do its job, right? So we're talking about this book, right? So it's important to know that even your neurons still are cells. So they still made structured water. Now, they're just highly specialized, right? With some wild equipment. Highly specialized with some wild equipment, right? So, but you still have that basic setup, still a glob of water with a nucleus in there. Now, here's the special equipment. You got these dendrites, and neurons can have any number of dendrites. And then you got this right here, which is the axon, right? Now, notice the myelin sheath, right? The myelin sheath, right? The myelin sheath, right, is MS, myelin sheath, MS. And when the myelin sheath, right, now when we look at, hold on, when we look over here at our studies, when we go to our studies, where is it? Hold on, where is it? Let me see, where is it? It's up here somewhere. Oh, it should be up here somewhere. Oh, right there at the bottom, in the bottom left corner of the screen. You see myelin sheath, insulation, right? So when you look at the end, when the insulation starts to get worn out on your axon, that's how you get MS, right? Multiple sclerosis, MS, myelin sheath. I'm explaining it that way so you have a mnemonic device on how to remember the basics of what MS is characterized by. Loss of myelin sheath. Myelin sheath is MS, and so is multiple sclerosis, MS. Right? And the myelin sheath is made out of fat. So I know some of these alkaline, rawtarian, vegan guys is telling you that fat is terrible, stay away from fat, blah, 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 blah. That's giving you a predisposition to later on get MS and some other brain stuff because your body's not having the cholesterol. And then if you mess around and get high blood pressure, and then because of your high blood pressure, you get on the statin drugs, and the statin drug inhibits, what the hell's the name of this thing? It's MHG reductase or MHG-CoA reductase or MHG-CoA oxidase or something like that. But it's the enzyme that allows your body to produce cholesterol, right? It's upstream to cholesterol production, but the statin drugs inhibit this enzyme, and so you can't produce cholesterol. If you can't produce cholesterol, testosterone is going to suffer, vitamin D level is going to suffer, and so is your myelin sheath is going to suffer, right? But anyway, this is the basic body, right? And so down here at the bottom of the axon, right down here at the bottom of the axon is where, so right here in this axon is where the lightning is going to go. That's where the lightning is going to go. And then down here at the bottom is where the chemical is going to come out, right? We actually, let's get us another one so we can show that too. This is why when you look at the pictures, this is why all the pictures that they try to like superimpose. Let me show you this, what they do. Hold on. Let me get a couple more so this will start making sense. Oh, that looks fire right there. That looks fire right there. Oh yeah, we're gonna grab that. But yeah, we're gonna get a few of these bad boys. Okay. I think we loaded. Hold on. All right, now we're gonna drop these on here. Can y'all see what I'm doing? Let me see what y'all looking at. Okay, yeah, y'all can see what I'm doing. All right, now let's go ahead and drop these bad boys on here. Boop. Boop. Bang. All right, so first things first. This is why the lightning part is why when you look, they show you images or videos that looks like this. Matter of fact, we could probably pull up a video too. Yeah, we're gonna look at a video too. Fuck it, we going there. Right? So we're gonna pull up something that we could look and see some action after we explain this. You know what I'm saying? Now, all those lightnings firing in sync is where your brain waves come from. So keep that in mind. Now, this right here, is a very simple, easy to understand picture, right? So axons doesn't go to axons, right? Axons doesn't go to axons. Axons connect with the dendrites. You see, and the dendrites go to the nucleus, the cell body where the brain is, right? So the dendrites, let's do this like this for our example. Let me see what I could pull up. Let me see if I can do that. Perfect. Here we go. This is how we're going to do this, right? Bang. So now you get a better idea of understanding it. Bang. That's that. And that's that. Okay. So now this is how this goes, right? So the axon could be more like the mouth, the axon terminal, right? That's where words come out, right? And the dendrites is more like the ears, right? That's where the words goes in, right? That's where the words goes in. And so that goes directly to the brain, right? And this right here is what that connection looks like. So if if you've seen this somewhere, this is what that's about. This is what the connection looks like up close, right? So when you see the axon, this guy right here, this is the transmitter, right? This is the axon. And these little areas where the axon is connected to the next neuron's dendrite is the synapse. Up close, this is what the synapse looks like. The chemicals is coming through from the axon terminal, and then the other neuron is absorbing it through the dendrite, and that's going to be converted back into something. Some type of message, right? But this is kind of the picture that you get. Let me see if we could find, hold up, no, I don't want to, I got to go back and watch that when this is finished. I had to get my daily dosage of pure fuckery in from 050. Let's see if we can find. Let's see. Stop that.
Messages start as electrical signals traveling rapidly down, communicate with each other, relaying messages throughout your body. Neurons communicate with each other, relaying messages throughout your body and powering all of your thoughts and actions. Neurons talk to each other using both electrical and chemical signals. Messages start as electrical signals traveling rapidly down a neuron. These signals are called action potentials. When they reach the gap between two neurons, the messages need some help to get across. The information is transformed from an action potential into a chemical message, which crosses the gap called a synapse. The release of those chemical messengers can trigger an action potential in the neuron on the other side of the synapse, conveying the message onward. Or it can quiet the message. This happens over and over and over. And with repeated activity, the synapse gets stronger, so the next message is more likely to get through. That way, neurons learn to pass on important messages and ignore the rest. This is how our brains learn and adapt to an ever-changing world.
All right, that was a vibe. Hold on, let's see if we can find some more. Okay, this one don't have no sound to it, but this one is still looking like a little something here. Okay, so this has no sound, but this is a dope video. All right, because the reason why this is a dope video is because this shows that a neuron can have a bazillion different connections. Right? And this is how your brain learns things, right? So if you are learning something for the very first time, guess what? You have no connections in your brain for it. There's no neurons that's connecting together for that specific type of information. So at first, it's difficult to learn, right? As you continue to learn that thing, your brain connects more and more neurons together. More axons and dendrites connect to facilitate that information being loaded into and pulled out of your mind, which is the hard drive, right? So as the neural networks for that information gets bigger and bigger and stronger, it becomes more and more easier for you to learn that information. Right? Now, mental illness. Mental illness is based on a few things. Mental illness is based on bad programming, right? We talked about malware, but it can also be based on bad neurotransmission. Now, obviously, I'm simplifying these things, but this is where the pharmaceutical drugs come in. Excuse me. This is where the pharmaceutical drugs come in. Pharmaceutical drugs are going to try to change the neurotransmission. A lot of them, you know what I'm saying? You got different types. But, you know, a lot of them, especially the ones for that psychologists and psychiatrists are prescribing, right? They're going to be dedicated to targeting neurotransmission, right? Outside of your basic vasodilators and vasoconstrictors. Now, those things are going to be trying to open up the flow of blood to specific areas of the brain or shut down the flow of blood to specific areas of the brain. Right? So if something is shutting down the flow of blood, that's a vasoconstrictor. If something is opening up blood flow, that's a vasodilator. Now, here's where the kidneys come in. The kidneys have to keep that blood that goes to your brain conditioned for the brain. The kidneys, listen to this, and to a lesser extent, the spleen and the lymphatic system, but the kidney has to do most of the heavy lifting, right? So when you have kidneys that are beginning to fail, your mind, your brain is not going to function the way it's supposed to, right? Because you cannot have dirty blood facilitating good brain activity. Remember, we discussed it yesterday that you need 10 times all of these neural networks, let's put it that way. They all have to be powered. They all need blood. Now, where your regular body cells have 1,500, 2,000, 2,500 mitochondria, these neurons have millions of them. Listen to me. Neurons have millions of mitochondria. They have millions of mitochondria so they could produce that lightning bolt. The neurons have millions of mitochondria so they could produce that lightning bolt. So this is why people will say, oh, your brain uses up 20, even though it's only 2% of body weight, it uses up 20% of the body's glucose to produce energy, blah, blah, blah. The reason is because you have millions of mitochondria inside of each neuron. This is another reason why alkaline goofball sounded like nothing, like a goofball. This is why Alkaline City sound like such a goofball, saying the mitochondria explodes and then shoots electricity into the arteries and veins that has to be carried to your brain. Like, bruh, are you insane? The brain and the heart, literally, the brain and heart cells have millions of mitochondria, right? Millions that have to be powered, right? So that's what you got going on here. Literally the work of millions of mitochondria trying to power up this thing. Right? Let's see what else. Let's see if we can get another good one here. What is this? I want to see a high class joint, man. Action potential inside neurons. All right, let's see what we got right.
Building your online.
Right. Okay, let's.
Neurons communicate with each other through their dendrites and axon. Generally, incoming signals are received at dendrites, while outgoing signals travel along the axon to the nerve terminal. In order to achieve rapid communication over its long axon, the neuron sends electrical signals from the cell's body to the nerve terminal along the axon. These are known as nerve impulses or action potentials. An action potential is essentially a brief reversal of electric polarity across the cell membrane. Cells are polarized, meaning there is an electrical voltage across the cell membrane. In a resting neuron, the typical voltage, known as the resting membrane potential, is about -70 millivolts. The negative value means the cell is more negative on the inside. At this resting state, there are concentration gradients of sodium and potassium across the cell membrane, more sodium outside the cell and more potassium inside the cell. These.
Look at the secret right here. It's a secret right here already being displayed, right? What's the secret right there? What's the secret right there? Sodium and potassium. Sodium and potassium. Now, this is the reason why sodium was so special in ancient Egypt, because they understood that sodium is what generates the electricity in your body. They focused on the sodium because potassium, so because the diet, and see, this is how all these things comes together, right? And this is why you have to slap folks around and, you know what I'm saying? Shout out to the great Diop, resting in greatness, right? But you listen to these goofballs, they'll tell you they was primarily eating meat in Egypt. And then when you do the test on the bodies themselves, you find out, no, they was primarily vegans, right? They were primarily vegetarians, to be more specific, right? So when you have a plant-based diet, you never, ever, 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 ever have to question whether you're getting the right ratio of sodium to potassium. It's only when your diet is primarily based in meat and starches, specifically box starches and canned starches and plastic bag stuff, that you have to worry about your ratio of sodium to potassium. But in nature's food, you almost always are going to have 1 sodium for every 4, 5, 6, or 7 potassium. Always it'll be that ratio. Sometimes you get even more. Like with a banana, it's like 1 sodium for every, I don't even know. Depending on the type of banana, though, it could be anywhere from 10 to 20 potassium ions, you know what I'm saying? Like, or atoms, you know what I'm saying? The ratio is crazy. You always have way more potassium than sodium. But it's that relationship that controls the electricity in your body. So as we're having this conversation, in fact, in the Electrician manual, if you have this book right now, right, you can go to page, let's see, it should be in here somewhere. Let's see, if it's not in here, it's in one of these damn books. Okay, yep. Everything that I'm talking about right now, you can find between pages 16 and 18 in the Electrician manual, including the 70 millivolts to the 40 positive, all that, the whole program is in the book, right? But let's finish watching. The more ways you consume information, the higher your chances of retaining the information. So, yeah.
These gradients are maintained by the sodium-potassium pump, which constantly brings potassium in and pumps sodium out of the cell.
Now, if you done memorized your timetable from the algorithm book, like you're supposed to have, right? You should know that's which question is that? Well, the questions is not in the algorithm book. The questions is in the GOAT book, right? But what question is that? What question is that? I believe that is... Question number 13. Potassium clears sodium and glucose. Can you shed more light on the base? No. That ain't that one. Is that one? Oh, no. It is. It's question number 10. I'm tripping. Question number 10. The conversion of fruit sugar into phosphorus is amazing, but we know that Egypt regarded sodium as divine. Does sodium or netarium fit into these cycles? If yes, what is the numerical relationship, if any? Right? That's the question. And the answer is, hold on, let me get the other book. I can freestyle it because it's in memory, but I want to make sure I quote the book. "36 to 38 ATP are produced from each glucose molecule. Without mitochondria, our cells can only squeeze 2 ATP per glucose molecule. Each glucose molecule is a chain of carbon 12. A sodium potassium pump uses 1 ATP during each cycle. 12 times per second, these pumps go through a cycle, exporting 3 sodium ions and importing 2 potassium ions. As above, so below. The cell membrane and the mitochondria membrane. This is the sublime mathematics of diabetic arithmetic. So this is the reason why we needed to learn that and get that out of the way, because these things are going to continue to pop up. That timetable is going to be the basis of our biochemical and neurochemical study. So you really need to learn that stuff. But anyway, I'll bring it back.
Electrical signals from the cell's body to the nerve terminal along the axon. These are known as nerve impulses or action potentials. An action potential is essentially a brief reversal of electric polarity across the cell membrane. Cells are polarized, meaning there is an electrical voltage across the cell membrane. In a resting neuron, the typical voltage, known as the resting membrane potential, is about -70 millivolts. The negative value means the cell is more negative on the inside. At this resting state, there are concentration gradients of sodium and potassium across the cell membrane, more sodium outside the cell and more potassium inside the cell. These gradients are maintained by the sodium-potassium pump, which constantly brings potassium in and pumps sodium out of the cell. A neuron is typically stimulated at dendrites, and the signals spread through the soma. Excitatory signals at dendrites open ligand-gated sodium channels and allow sodium to flow into the cell. This neutralizes some of the negative charge inside the cell and makes the membrane voltage less negative. This is known as depolarization, as the cell membrane becomes less polarized. The influx of sodium diffuses inside the neuron and produces a current that travels towards the axon hillock. If the summation of all input signals is excitatory and is strong enough when it reaches the axon hillock, an action potential is generated and travels down the axon to the nerve terminal. The axon hillock is also known as the cell's trigger zone, as this is where action potentials usually start. This is because action potentials are produced by voltage-gated ion channels that are most concentrated at the axon hillock. Voltage-gated ion channels are passageways for ions in and out of the cell, and as their name suggests, are regulated by membrane voltage. They open at some values of the membrane potential and close at others. For an action potential to be generated, the signal must be strong enough to bring the membrane voltage to a critical value called the threshold, typically about -55 millivolts. This is the minimum required to open voltage-gated ion channels. At threshold, sodium channels open quickly. Potassium channels also open, but do so more slowly. The initial effect is therefore due to sodium influx. As sodium ions rush into the cell, the inside of the cell becomes more positive, and this further depolarizes the cell membrane. The increasing voltage in turn causes even more sodium channels to open. This positive feedback continues until all the sodium channels are open and corresponds to the rising phase of the action potential. Note that the polarity across the cell membrane is now reversed. As the action potential nears its peak, sodium channels begin to close. By this time, the slow potassium channels are fully open. Potassium ions rush out of the cell, and the voltage quickly returns to its original resting value. This corresponds to the falling phase of the action potential. Note that sodium and potassium have now switched places across the membrane. As the potassium gates are also slow to close, potassium continues to leave the cell a little longer, resulting in a negative overshoot called hyperpolarization. The resting membrane potential is then slowly restored thanks to diffusion and the sodium-potassium pump. During and shortly after an action potential is generated, it is impossible or very difficult to stimulate that part of the membrane to fire again. This is known as the refractory period. The refractory period is divided into absolute refractory and relative refractory. The absolute refractory period lasts from the start of an action potential to the point the voltage first returns to the resting membrane value. During this time, the sodium channels are open and subsequently inactivated while closing and thus unable to respond to any new stimulation. The relative refractory period lasts until the end of hyperpolarization. During this time, some of the potassium channels are still open, making it difficult for the membrane to depolarize, and a much stronger signal is required to induce a new response. During an action potential, the sodium influx at a point on the axon spreads along the axon, depolarizing the adjacent patch of the membrane, generating a similar action potential in it. The sodium currents diffuse in both directions on the axon, but the
Now, keep in mind, this is all happening inside water. All of this is happening inside water, or what we would call more properly plasma. Right? Because the thing with plasma is basically a medium for charged particles to move around. So cosmic plasma out in space has the charged particles themselves moving around. So there are literally electrons, etc., floating around. That's what would make up cosmic plasma. Inside your body, you don't have the electrons necessarily floating around by themselves. You have negative ions and positive ions, right? So you have ions or atoms, right, carrying their innate charges, and with them, the movement of charged particles, or them as charged particles. So this is one of our basic mantras, right? Plasma carries electricity. Electricity carries magnetism, right? So what you're looking at is the movement. Now, this video is breaking down the movement of the actual atoms of sodium and potassium, but they each have their innate charge values. So they each carry a specific type of charge with them. So as they move in and out of the cell membrane, that changes the electric potential, and that electric potential is what generates that lightning bolt that flies down the axon. Now, what they're talking about with the refractory period is just how long it takes for the neuron to rest between the time that it could do that again, right? That's all that is. So if you look at yourself, the refractory period for you would be like if you went to the gym today and you worked out like a maniac. Your body would be sore. Your body would be sore. So the refractory period would basically be how long it'll take before you could work out that exact same muscle group again. Not how long before you could work out again, because people work out every day. They go on Monday and do chest, then the next day they'll go and do back, and then the next day they'll do legs and this, that, and the other. Break down the body parts. The reason why you break down the body parts is because there is a refractory period, a rest period for your muscles to recover. Your neurons are the same, right? Your neurons, when they release that lightning, there's an amount of time that has to go by before they can do that again. So all of the minerals, the electrolytes, have to be reset. So this is why sodium, potassium, calcium, magnesium, this is why certain minerals are more important than others when it comes to production of electricity in the body. Sodium is the most important because sodium is not only the star of the show in terms of electricity, but sodium also controls the movement of water. So that's why when it comes down to the body, sodium turns out to be the GOAT. Even though you've been led to believe by people funded from the pharmaceutical companies to believe that sodium is bad for you. It's not one day that passes that somebody, I don't have to explain to them that sodium is not bad for them. Like, no, sodium is bad. You got to cut down on all that sodium. Like, where are you getting this from? Who told you that? 9 out of 10 times, you don't have a sodium problem. You have a potassium problem. It's not that you're getting in too much sodium. It's that you're not getting in enough potassium because you're not eating enough greens and vegetables and blah, blah, blah. But if you have a couple bananas every day, pause, that's a cheat code because bananas are going to flood your body with potassium, which is the same reason why coconut water hit the scene and just went, because coconut water is doing two things. Coconut water, bananas do the same thing actually. Bananas actually flood your body with enzymes as well. But coconut water is a cool, refreshing way to get you in a whole bunch of potassium as well as some enzymes your body needs. So, but nobody was on that. You know what I'm saying? Whereas bananas been around forever, but coconut water is something that's kind of new to everybody. Most people, you're not like Caribbean. You know what I'm saying? A, I'm from the Bronx. B, I got Haitian family. So coconut water was not new to us when it hit the mainstream. You know what I'm saying? Because people sell coconut in New York all over because we got so much Caribbean people and so many Chinese people. Chinese people and Caribbean people been on coconut water. You know what I'm saying? They in the Bronx, in Lower Manhattan, people are walking around selling coconuts. You know what I'm saying? They got them in the cooler on a little buggy, and for $2, $3, they'll put a hole in it for you right there, and put the straw in it. And, they'll sell you the coconut with a straw in it right there, $3. You get real coconut water. You know what I'm saying? So we was used to that all summer, every summer. You know what I'm saying? Then you got the Mexicans. They sell, it's not nutritious for you, but I'm just saying, psychologically, they sell the coquitos. You know what I'm saying? So we used to buying the little 25 cent, 35 cent, 50 cent coquitos. I'm sure the price has went up. So probably now them joints is 50 cent, $1 and $1.50. I don't know what the price is, but the little coconut, they got coconut flavor and cherry flavor. That's the two flavors they usually have. The coquitos and the cherries. You know what I'm saying? And then when you go into the Spanish restaurants, the cuchi fritos, right? The cuchi fritos, they sell coconut juices in there. You know what I'm saying? So even though those coconut juices is not nutritious for you, they just taste good. You know what I'm saying? But I'm just talking about in terms of our culinary palate in New York, we've been on coconuts. Whereas a lot of these other places, it's kind of a new thing. You know what I'm saying? Cucumbers. Right? So, yeah.
Refractory properties of ion channels ensure that action potential propagates only in one direction. This is because only the unfired patch of the axon can respond with an action potential. The part that has just fired is unresponsive until the action potential is safely out of range. An action potential generated at the axon hillock usually travels down the axon to the nerve terminal and not back to the cell body. This is because the concentrations of voltage-gated ion channels are higher in the axon than in the cell body.
All right, so that was pretty thorough. Even though I want to see some stuff. Yeah, I want to see some fire. Like that. Yeah, there we go. That's what I was talking about. Right? So we could see a little approximation of the action. What is So in the MRI, this is what they're looking at. With the MRI machine. Let's see if we could see some MRI. Okay, no, this ain't gonna give us what we want. This is going to
When someone suffers
This is going to show us the MRI.
Affected by a traditional office examination, an MRI may be necessary. Several magnetic coils that emit a radio frequency pulse target. When an MRI is administered, when someone suffers from an internal ailment that cannot be detected by a traditional office examination, an MRI may be necessary. When an MRI is administered, the patient lies on a retractable platform which enters the center of the machine. Upon entering the machine, the patient is scanned by one of several magnetic coils that emit a radio frequency pulse targeted at the specific region to be examined.
All right, that was cool, but that ain't. Hold on. All right, let's see. Yeah, let's see what we can see. This is what them pictures look like. Right? Because what they're looking at is the electric activity. So because they want to see the electric activity, you see, because they're looking for electric activity, see, the basics keep popping up. The basics is always going to be the basics. Plasma carries electric currents. Electric currents carry magnetism, right? So what does an MRI do? An MRI uses magnetism to take pictures of electric currents. The MRI uses magnetism to take pictures, snapshots of the electric activity in the brain. So old school, they just use the brain waves. They try to put the little patches on you, right? Not try to, they put the little patches on you and they measure the brain waves to see what the brainwave activity is. The brainwave activity gives them a rough approximation of which neurons is firing, the patterns that they're firing in, so they could see the brainwave activity, right? So they created a whole textbook, not a textbook, a text, right? Based on normal values. Right. So this is why you need to know what areas of the brain do what, you know, the cortex, temporal lobe, this one, that one, amygdala, cerebellum, and all this, whatever, you know what I'm saying? Different areas of the brain. So now they measure a whole bunch of people and get the brainwave activity. Okay. So this is what normal brainwave activity looks like in this area. Now, if you got a mental illness, or you have a accident, this is old school. They'll put the things on you and they'll measure the brainwave activity. And say, for instance, they measure the temporal lobe and they say, oh, okay, well, at this time of the day or whatever the case may be, the body should have these types of brain waves, right? And time of the day is important. That's why divine mathematics comes in. You got the schedule of 24 hours. Anyway, but they would say this is what the normal brainwave activity is. So old school, if you had too much brainwave activity in a given area, then they come in with the vasoconstrictors. If we reduce blood flow to those neurons, then that should slow down their activity. And when it slows down the activity, it should normalize the brain waves And then hopefully that should be the end of the problem, right? If they see that that area of the brain had not enough activity, then they'll prescribe you a vasodilator to get more blood flow to that area of the brain, with the idea in mind that more blood flow will increase the neuron activity, right? By increasing the glucose, the sodium, potassium, and all that to that area of the brain, give that area more energy to function, you know, and then you should get faster brain waves in that area, now normalizing brain activity. That was the old school philosophy around a lot of this stuff, right? Then technology improved, and so they go, okay, now we can make drugs that deal specifically with the neurotransmitters, right? So as they learn more, instead of just brainwave activity, the next level was, okay, well, these neurons in this area, for instance, these neurons in this area should be producing dopamine. So if there's not enough dopamine, we can try. So the old school became secondary as they developed new technology, right? So the old school was first just vasoconstrictors, vasodilators. Then the next level of medicine came in, and that became secondary, right? So the first line is, well, we know this area, these neurons supposed to be producing dopamine. So if they're not producing enough dopamine, we can just try to give them synthetic form of dopamine, right? So we'll just give them some dopamine medicine, and hopefully that will normalize brain function, right? If that doesn't work, we'll try to increase blood flow to that area and see if that helps those neurons fire faster, fire more to produce more dopamine. Right? This is how this goes in neurochemistry. Right? Simplified, obviously, but this is how the concepts go. Right? So, but you don't really ever get the holistic approach of, okay, well, let's break this whole thing down to its simple components and let's find the root cause of the problem, and maybe we can just address it like this, right? So what's a basic holistic strategy? Right? Here's a basic holistic strategy. A basic holistic strategy is going, well, what is that made out of? See, so if you go to the website, AmericanHealer.website, you have the water melanin, which is an all-natural neurotropic for the brain, right? That's what the water melanin is. It's an all-natural neurotropic for the brain, right? Now, there's another very powerful neurotropic in disguise on the website, on American Healer website, GABA. GABA is in disguise on the website, right? So if you go to the website, you're not going to see GABA there because we don't have GABA there. What we do have is zinc. Zinc, a specific type of zinc, literally is the switch for GABA production. And this is why zinc is so powerful for diabetics or people dealing with pre-diabetes, right? Because GABA has two jobs. GABA is not only a neurotransmitter, but GABA is also a sugar metabolizer, just like insulin. So GABA will help clear your blood of glucose. So zinc ramps up the GABA production. That's why you get GABA produced inside the pancreas. It's not just insulin that's coming out of there in terms of your beta cells. Your beta cells produce the insulin, but they also deal with GABA and amylin, right? All three of those things helps your body to deal with sugar. If your body's not dealing with sugar, you got problems in all three of those areas, amongst other things, of course. We simplify it, but I'm just saying. So the zinc from our website, along with the water melanin, both helps your brain to do what it's supposed to do. Both of them. Now, Mom Atomics, of course, forget about it. Mom Atomics is going to set those neurons and nerves on fire. This is why when my daughter had the broken neck and spine, hint, hint, wink, wink, the nerves, right? Mom Atomics. The first thing I was thinking about was how to deal with the nerves. How to deal with those nerves. Spine and neck is broken in 3 places. We need to deal with the nerves. Bone gonna handle itself. We need to worry about the nerves. She got a broken motherboard. She got a broken motherboard. Now think about that. If you got an Apple laptop and you got a broken motherboard, or your motherboard gets fried, and you take that to the people, what do they tell you? If you got an Apple computer and your motherboard gets fried, it gets wet, it gets broken for whatever reason, what do they tell you in the Apple place? Or even in the Apple repair place, wherever you take your computer, what they tell you? They say, you know, they give you that look. It's like when you in the emergency room and the doctor come out, and the first thing the doctor do is take off his mask or whatever, take off his mask or the hat, you know what I'm saying? And they start looking down at their feet. You know they getting ready to tell you such and such didn't make it. You know, that's the didn't make it look. You know, they getting ready to, they trying to empathize and so they trying to come with that energy. If they don't got no pep in they step, you know what I'm saying? You can't see a smile, whoever you waiting for, they didn't make it, right? That's how that's going. The computer technician gonna come out the back with your laptop like that. Like, oh man, you got a fried motherboard in here. Yes. Yeah, we can probably save the hard drive. That's what they're going to. That's going to be the good news after they tell you need a whole new laptop, nigga. Your computer's done. You need a whole new. Yeah, we could save the hard drive though. Yeah, I think we can save the hard drive. We can probably try to save that hard drive, but your motherboard is fried. Did you get it wet? What'd you do? Did you get what they're trying to do now? Back to the beginning of the show, they're trying to transfer accountability. They want you to know, don't get mad with them because whatever you did at home destroyed your computer. It wasn't their fault. So they're gonna start asking you questions so you can realize that you tore your own shit up. So did you get it wet? What happened to it? Did you spill? What'd you do on it? What'd you do to it? Like questions like that. That's just liability right there. That's all they want you to do is accept accountability for tearing up your own shit. Yeah. Yeah, what'd you do? Did you get it wet, or would you drop it? Did you drop it on the? Did you drop it on the ground? That's how they. Did you drop it on the ground, or what'd you do? Did you get it wet, or did you get it wet and then drop it on the ground? Oh shit! That's how they're gonna do you. That's how they're gonna do you. That's a certified fact. That's what they own, right? So, that's what they do with the MRI. They use the magnetic field to detect electric current in the brain. Matter of fact, let's go back to that picture, that video, because that video.
When someone suffers from an magnetic coils that emit a
this thing right here, that's around the head, pause, that's how the picture is generated. So whatever they're using the MRI for, this sliding thing right here is what's going to actually capture the electrical activity. The magnetic coil is there to excite it, to amplify it. But this was going to capture it. So you get the pictures like what we see here in terms of the brain. Right? So that relationship always intact. Electricity, magnetism, and light. There's nothing else is going on out here but that. Right? So now we got a good, solid idea of how neurotransmitters are created. Right? So you got a lightning bolt that's converted into a chemical, which is called a neurotransmitter, because that chemical is transmitting the information from the neuron. So neurotransmitter, that's where the name comes from. That's what that is. Now, depending on the type of neuron it is, determines what type of chemicals it makes. All neurons are specific. Neurons only make like 1 or 2 different neurotransmitters. That's it. Usually 2. Right? They have a high voltage and a low voltage, right? Binary coding, right? Binary coding. It's all the stuff is binary coding, right? So they have 1 or 2 neurons, neurotransmitters they make. This is why you have so many different types of neurons in the brain, right? And when it comes to neuromelanin, that is the dopaminergic neurons. Dopaminergic means this is the type of neurons that make dopamine. So the type of neurons that make dopamine are the ones that have the neuromelanin in it. And those are the most important ones. Those are the most important neurons that you have. Even more important than the melanin concentrating hormone neurons, right? Because melanin concentrating hormone has its own type of neurons. Yeah. But the dopamine neurons are the ones that has the neuromelanin. And that's important because it's the neuromelanated structures in the brain that controls the brain waves. Right? So each individual neuron fires, right? But each neuron is not necessarily thinking about every other neuron. It's billions of neurons in your brain. So each neuron is not thinking about every other one. That's not how it goes. That's not how brain waves are created. But you do have structures in the brain whose job it is to regulate all the firing together, right? And so that's where the locus ceruleus happens. Well, primarily that's at nighttime when you sleep. But while you awake, the substantia nigra is what's controlling that, right? So this is why those is the main 2 areas of the brain that's mentioned when it comes to Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, dementia, etc. Because when the pigment is lost from the substantia nigra, you can't sustain your brain activity because all the neurons, instead of working together, they just turned into a bunch of loose niggas doing their own thing. Yeah, we could look around at the community and see how that works out. A bunch of loose niggas doing their own thing. We can see how that works out, right? No power. No power. And your brain is all about power, right? You need power to access the mind, the magnetic field, right? So when the neurons no longer working together, right, then that's a wrap. And how does that work? The substantia nigra connects to the putamen area of the brain. the putamen area of the brain connects to the thalamus, not the hypothalamus. That's a different area of the brain, the actual thalamus. And the thalamus is what send out the signals to regulate the, all the neurons into brainwave. Around the head. Pause, man. Yeah, pause. That was crazy. Yo, yeah, this whole combo though. Yeah, this whole combo been crazy. You know what I mean? We talking about head. I mean, shit. We talking about the brain. You know what I'm saying? So, all of this is gonna be crazy, right? So now today we got the basics covered, right? We got the basics covered. You know what I'm saying? And this is the Neurotransmitter book. So we can wrap up mental illness into a few different things. Programming, right? Malware, or bad neurotransmitters, bad neurotransmission, right? And so most of what you have in terms of drugs is geared towards neurotransmission, right? And if we're trying to get well, meaning we're trying to climb up the wellness ladder, right? The wellness ladder, you got to get into the new books. The wellness ladder is medication, right? That's the bottom level. Then it's vitamins, then it's herbs. Medication, vitamins, herbs. Now, some of us need all three. Some of us just need vitamins and herbs, and some of us can get away with just herbs. But if your body is not in tip-top condition, you cannot get away with just herbs. I got to look around in case I get shot. Yo, the holistic hustlers, the herbal scamsmen, they're like, what is EnQi? EnQi, you're ruining it for us. We've been hustling these niggas. Listen, if you're not well, you cannot get away with just herbs. You're going to need the herbs, you're going to need the vitamins, and you might need some medication too. And as you get your body in better shape, you can be able to get off of, get back into more of a natural paradigm, but you have to work yourself into it. You can't just start out saying, I'm going to just have. One of the things that's in the new book is how herbs work. So we're going to have that conversation coming up very shortly, like how herbs work. So we get an understanding exactly of how herbs work in the body. Right. But I think today was a good beginning conversation for mental illness. And then we could get deeper into, hold on, before we even go anywhere. Where is the Dope Game book? Can you tell that I came from the Dope Game? Hold on. This book right here. Right? This book is called The Dope Game for a couple of reasons. A, because if we start the book out, the book starts out, let me see, on page 13, dope, right? It starts out discussing dopamine immediately. Right, page 13, we begin discussing dopamine, and right from there, we move into watermelon, which is the nootropic, right? So, and different things nutrition-wise you could do for your brain health, right? Then also, we talk about drug addiction in the book, We talk about harmine in the book, but we also discuss, hold on, we discuss the vitamins and all this and all that. If we go to, all right, if we go to page 205 to 205, we start discussing drugs from the 14th century on up to the current meaning. Then we talk about what percentage of today's drugs come from plants, right? This is this book right here, The Dope Game. The Urban Biochemist book, Race Hustlers, Volume 3. I think this is still available. I think this book is still available. I'm not sure. Right? Oh yeah, we went crazy in this book. The drug dealer is living a plant-based lifestyle. Yeah, we went crazy. Hold on, though. That's not what I'm trying to get into right now, even though that is in the book. Hold on. Okay. So in this book, we talk about how different types of drugs affect your biochemistry and neurochemistry. Very important. Very important. So for instance, if you're taking, let's see, beta blockers, for instance, maybe you're using beta blockers. Beta blockers is going to reduce your CoQ10. Now, that's just an example, right? Beta blocker is going to reduce the CoQ10 levels. Now, if you go to which book? If you go to the Mitochondria water book, now you will be able to scientifically get the impact of the CoQ10, right? Because we talked about this the other day, right? But the CoQ10 is responsible for grabbing those electrons from cytochrome 1 and cytochrome 2, taking them to cytochrome 3 inside your mitochondria, right? So remember, cytochrome 1 is the electrons from carbs. Cytochrome 2 is the electrons from fats. And then they both need to be collected by CoQ10 and delivered to cytochrome 3. At cytochrome 3, that's the manager. He counting up, you know what I'm saying? Once he count up, then cytochrome C, another runner, right? CoQ10 is a runner and cytochrome C is a runner, right? Cytochrome C comes to grab up the electrons from cytochrome 3 and deliver it to cytochrome 4. In cytochrome 4, that's where mitochondrial water is produced inside the cell, right? So I know it's a lot of information, but this is why we have the books. So you could get the books and learn all this stuff. Yeah. We went platinum with that one. The herbal scamsman. But the nutrition part, that's what's in the dope game. You know what I'm saying? That's what's in the dope game book. So we looked at the popular drugs that people need, right? We're not telling nobody that they don't need their medicine. What we're doing is telling you how the side effects are generated by those medicines, right? So if we look at beta blockers, for instance, the side effects from beta blockers are going to be based on the fact that beta blockers deplete your body of CoQ10, right? That's one, right? So using the beta blockers is going to deplete your body of CoQ10. So am I saying stop using the beta blockers? No, because you might die, right? The beta blocker might be keeping you alive. But now, if you know, like if you have this book, you go, oh, well, I know if I'm taking beta blockers that I also need to get CoQ10, right? If you're taking beta blockers, it also depletes your body from melatonin, right? So now, instead of wondering why it is that your ass can't get no sleep, and then you go into the hospital and you asking the doctor, doc, what's going on with my sleep? And the doctor is telling you, oh, well, you know, it's a primary or it's a secondary or tertiary side effect, you know, associated sometimes with the usage of beta blockers. Here, we're going to prescribe you zildenazil, you know, some old crazy shit to help you get some sleep. So we gave you sleeping pills, right, to go along with your other prescription. Now you got 2 prescriptions. Then you might tell a doctor you low on energy. So because the CoQ10 is down, right? So now the mitochondria is not working good. So now you're feeling like this, you know what I'm saying? And your brain is not working. Because think about it. Each one of your neurons, we just went through it. Your neurons have millions of mitochondria to produce the electricity. So now if your body don't have the CoQ10, your brain ain't got the CoQ10. So your neurons can't really fire as well. So you taking the beta blockers to save you from having a heart attack, but now your mind is feeling what? Depressed. You got depression, right? Because your CoQ10 is missing. You're not getting no sleep because your melatonin is missing. So now your ass damn near feeling suicidal or homicidal. You feeling crazy than a motherfucker. But it's only because you missing CoQ10 and melatonin, right? So now you get you some CoQ10 in, right? And in the book, in the mitochondria water book, we show you how to get the CoQ10 in naturally, right? It's in the mitochondria water book. We show you how to get that in naturally. Then with the melatonin, you can get you some tart cherry juice, you know what I'm saying? Or you can go, you know, something like that. Tart cherry concentrate, the syrup stuff, not the drink, not the juice, the syrup. Tart cherry concentrate, the syrup. That's loaded with melatonin, right? So you do it like that, bam. Now you could take your beta blockers and still get you some sleep and still have some energy to do whatever you want to do and not be crazy and all this and all that. That's how you got to be able to study these books and put it together. That's how you got to put it together. Hey, that's what I'm here for. That's what I'm here for. Folks are still on book 2, book 4, book 6. And then we got new people being introduced that's on book 1. That's what the videos is for. And then, you know, like I said, we got a book club coming up soon. We're going to do a book club one of these days. It's coming up soon. So people can have their questions from the books. You know what I'm saying? We can discuss the questions from the books and we can go in like that. You know what I'm saying? But that's what the videos and the classes and all that is for. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, so we can, you know, Can't nobody keep up. I can't even keep up. I can't even keep up with my damn self because I'm on the front end of it. You know what I'm saying? Whereas as people are reading, right, y'all ask me questions. And because I got so many copycats out there, remember my thing is I'm never teaching something that's not in the books because then somebody gonna steal the drip. You see what I'm saying? So sometimes somebody asks me something that's not in a book and I go, ooh, give me 5 minutes. I'll be right back. You know, like beef back in the days when somebody who asked you can't beat, you got to go to the house and get your big brother or something. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, I'm coming right back. So there are some questions surrounding cancer that people have asked me lately. And usually, you know what's funny? Usually the questions come in waves, pun intended. You know what I'm saying? And that's what makes me address them. You know what I'm saying? Like when I get a few people that's on the same frequency, then it's like, okay. You know, so recently I've had a bunch of people asking me questions about kidney health. You know what I'm saying? So I had to double down on kidney health because kidney health is tied to brain function. So in the new book, The Brainwave, you're going to see there's a lot of discussion of the kidneys. The reason being is because you cannot have a healthy brain without healthy kidneys. Right? But pretty soon here, we're going to have some information dropping on cancer. You know what I'm saying? Because there's 200 different types of cancer. So you got a lot of scammy Davis Jr. niggas running around here telling people to take this herb. This herb. Yo, you need to get this herb. How you going to tell people they need to get this herb with cancer? And then you telling 100 different niggas with different cancers the same herb. Like, what are you doing, bro? These niggas be scamming hard out here. So I got to try to keep up with the scams. God forbid, forgive our people. Seriously. I know that we in poverty and we just trying to find the best way out of poverty we know how. You know what I'm saying? And trying to heal people and teach people health to escape poverty is a noble fucking thing. It is a noble thing. It's just the problem is that, you know, niggas be frauding. They don't know the body. They don't know health. What they doing is like Sebi is the biggest guy, you know, the biggest shadow. So they go, okay, Sebi knew how to do it. So I don't have to learn nothing about the body. All I got to do is just repeat the shit Sebi was saying. The problem is Sebi was making mad mistakes left and right. He didn't know everything. And you stuck a half a fucking century ago. Sebi's run was 50 years ago. You know how outdated that shit is a half a century ago? Like, bruh. Sebi didn't believe that proteins existed. You know how crazy that sounds in 2024? You know what I'm saying? So he is the OG. You know what I'm saying? But I'm trying to get Sebi to rest in greatness. All these guys that be scamming, they are fucking up his ability to rest in greatness, including his relatives and all that, because they making Sebi look like an idiot. As soon as they come out and say, "Oh yeah, I'm studying Dr. Sebi. Yeah, I'm one of the alkaline, you know, I'm alkaline, blah blah blah," and then they start this up.
I said our cells are little combustion chambers. Okay, when you feed your cell, you feed the mitochondria, and the mitochondria has an implosion. And that's the combustion of the mitochondria. That's what disperses the electricity from the cell out into the artery. Do you know what the arteries are? The arteries are your veins. We consume to feed our cell, okay? So that our cell can continuously have this little combustion of electrical current to get dispensed to our organs. When you feed your cell, you feed the mitochondria, and the mitochondria has an implosion. And that's the combustion of the mitochondria. That's what disperses the electricity from the cell out into the artery. Do you know what the arteries are? The arteries are your veins. When the purpose of living, right, and consuming is to feed our cells. Our cells, they are basically these little combustions of electrical energy.
Or even worse, they sound like this nigga.
You have to look scientific, drink water. Flesh, showing you that you were not created to eat flesh. Same thing when it comes to water. See, you're supposed to eat water. You're supposed to chew water. You're not supposed to drink water. You do not drink water. Dogs drink water. Camels drink water. Four-legged beasts drink water. Do you know in order to drink water scientifically, you would have to stand on all fours, you have to elongate your neck, and you have to lap the water with your tongue? Your tongue is not even long enough, and it don't have the type of muscles that other mammals have to even lap that water in. In order for you to drink water, you got to close your hands together, do this. You got to do everything but what you can do naturally with it to even drink this water. You getting water in cups and glasses. You weren't born with cups, glasses, and bowls and none
Peace
of that.
and blessings out there to everybody. My name is Dr. EnQi, the founder of the Melanin versus Diabetes movement and ministry. Our goal is to fight diabetes by creating a biochemically literate society, one book at a time, one person at a time, one household at a time. Join us now.
That's why. Listen, that's why we have to write books. And that's why I have to arm you guys with books. So that nobody from our movement is running around sounding half-cocked. I don't want y'all sounding half-cocked like these guys. Or I don't want you to be listening to these guys. That is so embarrassing. Listen to me. That is so embarrassing. It's like you destroying everything I'm doing the moment you tell somebody, oh yeah, I be watching Brother Jackie. What? I was so embarrassed the other week. Somebody in the chat room said, oh yeah, I'll be listening to Dr. Ali Muhammad. I'm like, wait, what? First of all, Ali is not no goddamn doctor. He don't have no kind of degree. The only kind of degree Ali has is a fake degree. Let me show you this. The only degree Ali has is a fake degree that he printed up at his own house. Yeah, Ali is a fucking idiot. Listen, Ali is a full-time idiot, a part-time goofball. You see that? What's highlighted? What's highlighted is the mistakes that he made printing that fraudulent degree up at his house. He misspelled words. Oh my God. And then made up his own thing from the American Medical Association. He made up the Aboriginal Medical Association. God bless his soul. His intentions was originally in the right place. Like I said, trying to heal your people in order to escape poverty, to build business, to earn some dollars, some currency, some commerce. That is a noble pursuit. That's a noble pursuit. But when you forget that you constantly need to study, when you get so arrogant, and I'm going to be honest, the sister that we started the show looking at her post, is people like her that create guys like Alkaline City and Ali and Yaki and all these people. Because what happens is they might have originally got into studying. right? But you could tell where their heart is. Their heart is centered around making money. So because their heart is not on healing people, their heart is more on the escaping poverty part. At some point, they realize these people are uneducated and they're gullible. They're uneducated and they're gullible. So guess what? I don't have to be busting my ass to study and research to get this money. No, I could just remix. If I could just tell these niggas anything. Yeah, come on. I'm going to activate your chakras. And before you know it, I'm going to have you thinking that stretching is somehow activating your chakras and that somehow you could do some blood sacrifices to help your chakra active. What the fuck are we talking about? What is happening out here? All due respect to the sister. There's no way in hell you start off doing yoga and you end up doing blood sacrifices and then you get to blame your teachers. You do not you do not get to blame the people that was leading you if you were following. Following and leading is a relationship. Just like being a teacher means you got to be a student. In order to be a leader, you got to be a follower, because being a follower is being a leader. Being a teacher is being a student. Being a student is being a teacher. And when you do one thing and that leads you to something else, and those two things is nowhere near fucking related, we got to look at you. Matter of fact, since we got people that just tuned in that may not have saw the beginning of the show, you need to go watch the beginning of the show. But just so you get an idea of what I'm talking about, I'll pull it back up real quick. But remember, a large part of what we're doing is I'm trying to create the books and give you the information so that you cannot be misled by people that are purposely trying to mislead you, like Bickram Yoga guy, Bickram Chowdhury, or people that may be accidentally misleading you, like some of our brothers in the health space. You know what I'm saying? Because I know, for instance, with Ali, I know there was a point where Ali was pure to his intention. Now, where he got away from that, like KT, where he got, I have no idea. But I know there was a point where them two brothers specifically was pure to their intentions. They really wanted to heal and educate the people. You know what I'm saying? Now, with Yaki, totally different. Yaki is a straight up con man out the gate. Period. You do not go from being addicted to crack cocaine and getting shot trying to sell crack cocaine to other niggas. Listen, you're addicted to crack cocaine, and while selling crack cocaine to other niggas to facilitate your habit of crack cocaine, you get shot. Now that you're shot, you're taking mad coke to try to deal with the pain of getting your ass shot. And so from there, you OD on the coke. And so the doctor says you have to stop this. And so you have the brilliant idea and says, oh, I know how I can keep this thing going. I'll just start selling CMOS to niggas like King Erner. Yeah, I can just, yeah. I'll just be a holistic healer, salesman, scam. I'll just tap dance for niggas like Scammy Davis Jr. I'll become Scammy Davis. And overnight, I'm just going to start scamming niggas. He didn't take 2, 3 years, 5 years to detox the drugs from his system. And then another 3, 4, 5 years on top of that. He needed a minimum of a 5 to 10 year period post coke crack addiction, post getting shot. A 5 to 10 year window where he just worked on healing himself before presenting himself to the people. And because he did not take that, now he's out there as a healer and he's telling people that they wasn't designed to drink water. What are we doing? He's telling people that they have a G spot inside the anus. This is what you get. When you go from cocaine and getting shot to being a healer, you start telling niggas that, yeah, humans are not designed to drink water because they need cups. So, yeah. What? So, my job is not to shut him down or to attack him or do that. My job is to show you the flaws and then say, here is the tools you need to build up your brain to be able to discern from niggas telling you that the mitochondria explodes. Mitochondria explodes or mitochondria implodes, and then electricity flies out of your cell into your artery. And like, yeah, avocados are not ionic, so you shouldn't eat avocados. What? What? Yo, did y'all niggas forget that Ali said that you're supposed to peel the skin off of all of your fruit, including berries and apples? Oh, God. I got to try to find those. I got it in hard drive somewhere. You know what I'm saying? But did y'all forget that shit? I got it in hard drive somewhere. And somewhere I got some hard drives around here with all that in there. He put out a written scientific paper that said melanin is fungus. I swear to God, I can't make this up. Ali was teaching that melanin is fungus, and you should remove all the pigment from your fruits and vegetables. You know, all the skin where the pigment is. You remove all that. Get rid of that nasty pigment stuff. You know, melanin is fungus anyway. Hey. Oh my God. And my thing is, you know, not so much those guys, but because if they disappear, new guys will pop up and they'll come up with more new crazy shit. You know what I'm saying? That's not, you know, it'll be somebody else because there's a market for it. You know, we got Victor. I mean, we got KT saying drink urine. We got Victor saying that you heal cancer with rattlesnake, powdered rattlesnakes is the best way to heal cancer. Powdered rattlesnakes. Even though his dad, Dr. Sebi, is the pioneer of the vegan movement. Victor is selling niggas protein powder to cure cancer. Listen to this. Listen. Dr. Sebi, the founder of the plant-based diet, right? Only alkaline, no acid. Victor is selling niggas powdered snake to cure cancer. And then people ask me in truth and, you know, like, hey, Dr. EnQi, what do you think about this? You know, that's how I get all these things because I don't watch these guys, but people come to me because the people that's looking for health information on the internet, they come across my pages and they come across these niggas' pages. So they'll ask me, hey, you know, I was at a lecture or I seen this video and the guy was saying this. And I got to go, but why you? And I'm not mad with the teacher of said information. I'm mad with the person that, I'm like, why would you be listening to Yaki ever again after he told you humans was not designed to drink water? That's a one-hitter quitter right there. That means that your whole everything is out the window. I'm done with you. I'm done with everything you teach. I don't give a fuck if I got 1,000 good things from listening to you. That one bad thing tells me you're dangerous enough that I cannot listen to you anymore. And because I don't have the ability to discern what's what, I definitely can't listen to you no more because you're dangerous. You telling people that are chronically dehydrated, chronically inflamed, that they are not designed to drink water. I'm done. I'm done. You niggas insane. And niggas are insane, right? So we have to cure niggas with books. Here you go. Whoop. We're going to prescribe you some books. That's the medicine, right? That's the medicine, is to get information in. The information is going to be your compass. So now you already know that every cell in your body is made out of structured water. You know that plasma is water with electric or charged particles, whether those are individual charged particles or ionic particles. So in order to keep your body filled with fresh plasma, you have to constantly consume water, and those nutrients, hint, hint, wink, wink, the mama atomics, right? That creates those ionic, those charged ions, right? So the water and the charged ions come together and now you got fresh plasma. You're not supposed to, humans not designed. What? Boop. Hit the little 3 dots. When you go on your YouTube and it comes up again for those videos, hit the 3 dots next to it and press not interested.
Peace and blessings out there to everybody. My name is Dr. EnQi, the founder of the Melanin versus Diabetes movement and ministry. Our goal is to fight diabetes by creating a biochemically literate society, one book at a time, one person at a time, one household at a time. Join us now by going to Amazon.com and getting all of the books, getting all of the books that you can afford, even if you can't read them all. Share them with family, share them with loved ones. Let's begin the study. And if you need tutoring sessions are available at AmericanHealer.website. I can give you one-on-one tutoring through these books. Let's build a biochemically literate society, one person at a time. Thanks in advance.